Welcome, everybody, to tonight's coverage of MetaShift Week 2 in the Neon League. I am WhatTubeReady, and joining me tonight is Silent Elements as we are covering DZG Arcadia's match against, I already forgot the enemy team's name, Nemesis. That's the one.
Yeah, so we're excited to be here. This will be the first stream game for Arcadia. We'll get to actually second game. So it's interesting to see what kind of adjustments, since we are seeing a part of DZG Elysium's bot lane taking over for Arcadia for tonight. We'll see how they fit in with the synergy with the rest of the team.
Yeah, we do have Symphonic and Hello stepping in, and we are already underway in the ban phase. Nemesis is taking off Amumu and Vel'Koz, while Arcadia is going to be taking away the Seraphine and the Silas. Two pretty strong meta picks right now. I've been seeing them a lot in competitive play. Not too surprising to see them taken away here.
Not at all. It's kind of an adjustment from Nemesis's last game, where the bans were mainly targeted at the jungler and Silas.
Yep, we got Ashe taken off the table as well as Arcadia waits for their final ban away. Nemesis seems to just be taking away what looks like comfort picks for Arcadia right now. I know the Amumu we've been seeing, at least in Elysium, a lot in the hands of Symphonic. He's been putting on a bit of a performance with that one, and as the Zac is taken away as well, Sivir is going to be our first lock-in.
Yeah, it's been a pretty popular first pick for blue side lately. I'm wondering if the nerfs that are incoming are going to affect that at all, but we'll have to see. Let's see what CJ has for Arcadia.
Yeah, Sivir has been fairly popular as an AD carry right now since her mid-scope update. She's had a lot of positive changes to her, back to that sort of crit auto-attacking style, no more of this lethality standing back, just pressing Q repeatedly. She's much more of an actual AD carry now. So we already seen the Senna locked in for Arcadia. If we see this paired up with something like a Tahm Kench or a Swain, can't be with the Seraphine as you would sometimes expect, but just something else to match up with that we can expect it to be a fasting Senna as opposed to the farming style.
It seems like Riot never has truly figured out whether they want Senna to farm or not, because they keep adjusting, and sometimes looks like we're looking for a TK Senna bot lane.
Yeah, Riot has had I think in almost every single, at least a couple times since Senna's release, I think 14 or 15 different times, she's had her passive changed, whether it's on minions or not. Somewhere between, it's always like 10% and 2% and 6%, and they just keep going back and forth on it. They cannot make up their mind.
Do you have a preference on which Senna you enjoy? Do you enjoy the farming Senna, or do you enjoy the passive?
I'm a little biased as I am a support player, so I like having Senna in my hands. It makes me feel powerful. But speaking of picks that make you feel powerful that you don't really have to do anything on, Yuumi plus Sivir is a fantastic bottom lane combination. Yuumi just sitting on top of Sivir and giving her all of the power that she really wants, some extra attack damage, the shielding, the healing, all of the peel that she might need. It's like giving Sivir that little bit of extra range that she needs to really get into these fights.
Yeah, and with the Rammus pick, it looks like Nemesis is just flat out looking to bum rush DZG Arcadia and just try to give him no time to react to anything. Let's see.
Yeah, this is a press the go button and go style of composition.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely don't want to see that Yuumi on Rammus at all.
That's what we're hoping for. And as a counter to the Rammus, it is going to be the Trundle locked in. I think this is a really smart call. Don't let that get banned out in the second rotation. And so far, it is the bottom lanes and the junglers locked in. We still have those solo lanes left to pick up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if DZG Arcadia is going to target the mid lane or the top lane, depending on... from what it looks like the top lane for Nemesis mainly likes to sit on tanks, so kind of a beefy front line. So the question, looks like they're opting to take out the mid lane. So we're looking at Akshan, and then for Nemesis, they banned the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, Mordekaiser, one of those champions that has a really nice matchup into those top lane tanks like you were talking about. Mordekaiser just being able to bully them during the laning phase, steal their stats out of the laning phase, take them out of the fight entirely afterwards as well. It's a really, really good matchup for him in particular. So seeing that one banned away to protect those tanks in the top side, not too surprising. Like you mentioned, the Akshan was already taken away. Arcadia just waiting on those last couple of seconds to see what that final ban is going to be. They're hovering the Olaf. They're thinking about it. They are going to take away the Olaf.
Interesting. At the moment, it seems like Nemesis is really lacking AP damage, so I'm kind of interested in seeing why more AD bans are happening. But it looks like with the Orianna being hovered, that might be our last ban for Nemesis.
Yeah, I don't hate the Orianna ban. Very safe mid laner, one that works really well with both Tahm Kench and Trundle as ball delivery systems. You just shove a shield on top of them, let them run forward, and there's not a ton that the enemy team can do about it, especially when, like we were talking about with Sivir and Rammus, they want to be running into you and running at you. If you give them if you give your frontliners a ball, not only for the shield, the extra armor and MR, but then just for the shockwave on top of that, makes it really difficult to fight into.
In this situation, are you thinking top or mid for DZG Arcadia's pick?
I would like to see the blind top lane since you're fairly confident that Nemesis will pick some kind of tank. You want something like Gangplank, one of these champions that can punish a blind top lane tank and just sort of farm up and scale up better than they can.
Yeah, and especially with that split push, we can see Nemesis right now wants to play that group team fight, while DZG Arcadia has the options to split push with the Trundle and Gangplank on the sides.
Yeah, there's even still the potential for the flex. I'm not gonna scream out that Gangplank mid is gonna be the answer to all of Arcadia's problems, but it is something that can work well for them if the mid lane matchup ends up being favorable. Like if they try and pick some sort of AP melee, something like a Silas, you can have Gangplank matchup into that, but it looks like it's gonna be Volibear top for Nemesis, unless we see that Rammus go into a very funky position.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see some damage from Nemesis pick right now, because at the moment they have a great front line, they have someone to keep them alive, but right now Sivir is the only true damage. We're looking at Azir.
Zir is a great damage dealer, and when you give Azir a beefy front line, it's so difficult to stop him from just taking those sand soldiers and shoving them wherever they want to go. He's also incredibly slippery, which when you are trying to dive on him with a Trundle and Tahm Kench, makes it incredibly difficult to lock him down. So Arcadia, just waiting on this last pick for the mid lane. I would love to see some sort of CC, some extra crowd control, because right now you're just really relying on Trundle Pillar and Tahm Kench hopefully hitting a knockup.
Echo.
Echo I guess it's kind of lockdown. I mean, if you can get the W down on top of Azir or on top of Sivir, it's going to be really difficult for them to actually position where they want and play the game. So I don't hate it. I think it can work.
I think it really does work because that is GVG's one of his top champs. So it's going to be something that I expect that he's going to do really well on, and that Azir may or may not have an answer to. I know that Echo getting to that late game can just pretty much burst anyone except probably that Rammus.
Yeah, Echo's damage in the late game is always a little bit more than you expect. Once he's got like the Lich Bane and the Proto Belt in inventory, it becomes sort of like unexpected, where like he throws out the first Q, you take like an eighth of your health bar, and you're like, oh, okay, I can keep trading with him, and then he dashes in with the E, gets the passive off, and you're like, hey, my entire health bar's gone. Where did it go? How did that happen?
So with the team comp, which one do you think has the advantage in this case?
As much as I hate to say it, as we are a little bit biased here, we are supporting DZG Arcadia. I really like Nemesis's draft. You have Sivir and Azir, which are two really nice late game scaling, hyper carry, damaging carries. You have a Yumi on top of them to make sure that they are safe wherever they end up in a team fight. And then you have two really nice beefy frontliners in front of these two. Rammus and Volibear are really difficult to get through, and they have a lot of disruption, so that if you're ahead in the game, they could even start diving the backline, start pressuring the Senna and the Gangplank even more. So it's really difficult for Arcadia to actually deal with that dive. Like, they have the anti-disruption of Tahm Kench, and they can steal the stats with Trundle. It's just going to be fighting on the back foot if this Nemesis comp gets anywhere near elite.
Well, I actually agree in this case. I definitely think that Nemesis's draft is very easy to maneuver, especially since I'm looking at DZG Arcadia. They have almost 3 lanes that kind of want to farm up as the game goes on. So unless DZG Arcadia can stall out this game so that it gets to the point where Senna has 100 stacks and, you know, Gangplank's barrels are just critting for ridiculous amounts, or Echo just has, you know, 3 to 4 items to kind of burst people, I feel like it's going to be hard to see Trundle kind of gank a lane and try to get these lanes ahead early, simply because they kind of want to farm it out a little bit.
Yeah, I think his best bet is really going to be putting pressure on that top side, try and get Gangplank ahead early, let bottom lane farm up, let Echo try and roam, get out of the Azir lane, as difficult as that will be. But that's really the lane where you're going to be expecting a lot of the pressure, because you want Gangplank to have a safe and comfortable laning phase, like you were talking about, get those massive crit barrels, shove them into the opponent's team. But we're talking about like 25, 30, 35 minutes into the game. So we're a long way from that. But while you're waiting, we could talk a bit about one of our sponsors for tonight, Dubby. Dubby is an energy drink organization that provides plenty of vitamins, amino acids, caffeine, and plenty of all these nice healthy things with no added sugar, no maltodextrin filter, no artificial colors or dyes, and it's totally gluten free. So if you want to pick up some for yourself, you can head to the to the link down below. Use the code DZGWin to get 10% off your whole purchase. In the meantime, we are going to take a short break while we wait for the in-client champion select to wrap up. So we will see you guys when we are getting into game.
Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up, babe. Tonight we gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
I can't stay in my feet. What I'm gonna do if I really want to? But you know, baby, break my mind and take. But you have the key, so open my heart, please, my heart, please. I can't stay in my feet. What I'm gonna do if I really want to? But you know, baby, break my mind, break my mind. So open my heart, please, my mind. So please, my mind. So open my heart, please, my mind. But you know, baby. I can't stay in my feet. but you're not, baby.
The calm before the storm. Things aren't as they were before. You best start bracing. Did you think you could keep us out? Shut the gates, forget us now. The tides are changing. Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? We're the revolution. We're not backing down, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution.
I'm walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting
Back, everybody. Apologies for the long delay. We had a bit of a champ select bug happen once or twice, but we're back now. Everything's fine, and we're getting into game 1.
We're seeing hopefully a normal 5-point from both sides, since neither of them really offer a threat at level 1.
Yeah, Yumi especially, like, Champion really just wants to hang out on somebody else's back, take credit for what they're doing, so I don't expect her to, like, do too much at level 1, just sort of hang out and make sure that there's no invade happening. A little bit of good manners happening in the mid lane between Rusty and Grave News, just sort of hanging out and doing that jungler thing. Interesting to note, as we're looking over the summoner spells for everybody, no Ghost for the Sivir on the bottom lane, which has become a lot more standard for her recently, and no Flash or Ghost for Rusty on the Rammus. He's opted for the Smite and the Ignite. He wants to fight.
Yeah, we're gonna see him do or die, kind of gladiator style. If he picks a fight, there is almost no way he's getting out without his Q getting back up on cooldown.
Yeah, he's going to be very reliant on those movement abilities and on Sivir as well to keep him like in and out of fights with the on the hunt. We'll have to see how it works out for him, but I mean, if Grave News tries to take the invade, it's at least a little more risky now.
That is true. We're looking at a really normal start from both sides. It's going to be interesting to see if their pathing for both junglers change and how that will impact the rest of this game.
Yeah, it should be a fairly normal start. We don't expect to see a lot of action until like that level 2, level 3 mark when those junglers get up to the top side. I do want to note that Volibear did start with the Doran's Ring, just looking for that extra mana regen and a little bit of that AP scaling on that E-Shield, just try and get himself a little bit more safety in the lane, because Gangplank with the Grasp, gonna put out a little bit of poke.
Yeah, and the poke of the Yumi is already starting to show up, but, you know, we'll see how this... Well, it looks like they're both going for... Trundle gave up his wolves and going straight for red, so he may or may not have a good opportunity to gank top lane while Rammus is doing a full clear.
Ooh, that's a level 2. The knockup's on the Yumi. Yumi can't hop back, but she does have to heal for herself, so it is just going to be some extra damage. Meantime, the top side as well. Argo taking a lot of damage from the Volibear Storm Splitter there. It's a lot of damage early. It has plenty of base damage on it, and just throw a little AP scaling on top of it as well. It gets risky.
Yeah, and we're looking at this Trundle sit in Tribush. It looks like he's looking for an opportunity and may make his move.
Yeah, he's looking to come in topside, but it is warded, so Arca did know that it was coming. It is still going to be a little bit of damage traded back. Graves News fine to trade his health bar as he's got the red buff, so we'll get some health regen back, but a surprisingly more active early game from all lanes than I think that we were expecting. Even GVG in the mid lane trying to take some aggressive trades into Baba Yaga.
Yeah, it's great to see the Yumi not completely sit on the AD carry the entire game. I don't know about your solo queue experience with Yumi, but I feel like my Yumi never gets off me during the entire lane phase.
See, I don't have solo queue experience with Yumi because I always ban it, because I don't want to see it on the enemy team. Because it doesn't matter how far behind she gets in lane, the enemy jungler will get ahead, or the enemy mid laner will get ahead, she'll sit on top of them, and then we lose. So it's better to just keep the champion out of my solo queue games in general. Don't like seeing that one.
Despite it, it looks like Trundle is prioritizing the Scuttle. He's managed to... we're looking at Rammus go for the flank.
Yeah, Rammus is potentially coming up towards the top side. He is sitting on a ward, but Argo is pushed up a little bit too far forward. Nice stun in from Arca, where Argo going to be forced to flash away. Arca and Argo, that's going to get very confusing very fast. And Vonic wants to find the engage. Another nice knock-up onto Hiroshi on the Yuumi. There's no Ignite to come down, but the exhausts are being traded. Hello's also ignited, taking a lot of damage from this massive minion wave, and the wave is too big! First Blood is going to go over the Stratty. Now Symphonic has to try and walk himself out. Yumi's hopping back on. She doesn't have a ton of mana, though. Symphonic's going to miss the knockup, but Grave News is here. Stratty, nice flash to get away from the pillar, and he will be able to walk away safely. All summoners burned from the Nemesis bot lane, but they did pick up the First Blood.
Yeah, it was a little bit too much of a focus on the Yuumi. I think the initial start was fine, but once you start walking past the Sivir, I feel like that's when you have to switch targets, especially since you're behind your own minion line.
Yeah, that was a really big wave to fight in. I don't hate the engage. I think getting on the Yuumi is good. The exhaust on the Yuumi felt like maybe Symphonic really just felt like he had Ignite as opposed to exhaust and just didn't fully think about which summoner spell he had. But with the wave being that big, it's really not an extended trade that you can take. Because you saw how much damage Hello was taking just from sitting in the mini wave.
Yeah, and we're watching Trundle with Grave News sitting on Dragon, and with that durability change that they had with the Dragons, I feel like if Rammus finds out at all, it might be an easy pick for him.
Yeah, he does have GVG and his bottom lane back. Argo is going to take a hefty trade in the top side. Grass Track's being traded back and forward, but Arc is slowly losing this, but with the bite is going to get a lot of health back. It is just the top lane special, trading health bars back and forth. But we do have some action happening on the top side as well. Argo is going to get flashed on and taken down. Arca is going to find the solo kill, and in the meantime, on the bottom side, Grave News and the rest of Nemesis and the rest of Arcadia ended up being forced off the dragon. Like we were talking about, Rammus found them out, and they weren't able to take it.
Yeah, this doesn't bode well, as we mentioned, that DZG Arcadia has a game where they actually need to stall out, and they're actually quickening the pace of this game in the favor of Nemesis.
Yeah, Rusty found his way down here, but with the wave being cleared so nicely by Sivir, as that is what her champion does, I don't expect there to be a really great gank opportunity. You see Baba Yaga with the Conqueror's Ear as opposed to the Lethal Tempo or the Halo Blades that you will sometimes see, maybe even Comet every once in a while. Looking for those extended, consistent trades, try and get his damage up as much as possible. But with the pressure that they have in mid and in bot, it is just going to be that first Hextech Dragon going over to Nemesis.
I don't know. I feel like this is a moment that could have been contested just because Hextech is a pain to try to capture, especially as the first dragon and with the durability change. They honestly could have just kind of sat there and just stood and let the dragons do some damage and actually engaged on them. I don't think we saw that the Azir really didn't have any mana to really do much except maybe one full run of his abilities. There's a Sivir and Yuumi, and there's a Rammus that's sitting on the dragon. I feel like it was a missed opportunity for DZG Arcadia.
Yeah, the Hextech does do a lot of damage, and alongside the extra slow that it gives on that third auto attack just to pump out that little bit of extra DPS as well. It can certainly chunk. It's not the easiest dragon to take early, and like you were talking about with the durability changes, none of the dragons are incredibly easy to take early anymore. So there was the potential for a contest, but DZG decided to, instead of just standing around doing nothing, go back, farm their waves, grab some momentum while they can, which I don't think is the incorrect option to take if you're not going to contest the dragon.
Absolutely.
Oh, GVG is going to get pushed under tower, but he does have the mood suit from passive, so he's going to be fine. Doesn't even have to burn his ulti, which I don't know if I'm not looking at that correctly, but does he not have a point in that?
So what happens with Echo mains? They actually keep the point so that way when they're facing their laners or if they get a gank, they keep it so that in case they do get one, the person does not know where their shadow actually is.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't play enough Echo or with enough Echoes. That's really smart.
Yeah, so he has a point ready that he can utilize. He just has not, and is just literally sitting on it so that he can capitalize on it if he really needs to use it.
Okay, that's really smart. I like that. So he is going to be holding onto his ulti. Imagine he'll put a point in here. He's going to instead opt to use the flash to get himself out and get away from that Rammus R.
I mean, this is pretty spicy for an early game. Oh,
Ooh, GVG
There
is
we-
going to
there
get
we- there we
engaged on.
go.
He finds the point in the R. Baba Yaga has to flash away from the tower. The electric comes through. GVG is going to win the 1v1 thanks to the Echo Tech. Oh, I'm so glad that we were just talking about it because that looks so good.
Yeah, he is super comfortable on that Echo, so it is surprising that they allowed it through. But hopefully, you know, they allow this Echo to be the carry for the team.
Yeah, getting a 1v1 in the early laning phase like that, especially with how aggressive Baba Yaga was looking in the lane, trying to, like, get Echo under his own tower and trying to, like, push his advantage further. Looks really good. With the early pressure coming from mid and from top, even with Argo, it's somewhat losing the 1v1s, he's still ahead in CS, pushing the wave into the enemy tower, but Grave Muse is caught out now. He's gonna get ignited and taunted up. He had the pressure from his lanes, but they were not able to rotate in time, and that is potentially just a free Rift Herald gifted over to Rusty, and Argo is now overstayed his welcome, gonna get picked up as well.
Yeah, I think it's just the moment where, you know, if you want to do these objectives, you need to communicate ahead of time so that your lanes kind of have that opportunity to respond and kind of assist. Even if they don't need to do anything, it's just to have them there so that way they can cover you. Because that Rammus could have been picked off easily if there was just anyone just helping him out. It wasn't like Gangplank wasn't pushed up, and although Echo had backed, there was an opportunity to just kind of communicate, hey, this is what I need from my laners, and I'm not sure if the jungler did that.
Yeah, you can either ask Echo to try and recall on a different timing, or even if you know that your mid lane is going to be recalling, and that's where you have a lot of your pressure, you can stop forcing the play. It's as weird as it sounds, you can just sort of like back off from it and be like, okay, this isn't my opportunity to take the Rift Herald. I just got to walk away before Rammus ends up showing up.
Yeah, and I think a key difference of, you know, gameplay is literally if you're looking at the wards, there are about 5 wards, 2 of them are control wards in favor of Nemesis, and all I can see from DZG Arcadia is maybe 2 wards and 1 control ward.
Yeah, GVG trying to get aggressive in the mid lane again. I think he's just trying to press his lead as much as possible. Nice root from Hello. It's going to deny Yumi's hop back, but without a gank coming through anytime soon, I don't think that's going to be incredibly important. Argo now in trouble again, has to flash away from the Rammus, but he's got the taunt. There's no oranges for Gangplank. He finally gets them off, able to get himself under tower, so he's going to survive. That's still a flash lost, and that is a dangerous position to be in as a Gangplank who's already so behind in this game.
I mean, this is a method where, you know, if you spend this much on top lane, that means that bot lane as well as mid lane is not getting that pressure. So this could be a tech that, you know, Argo's like, hey, I still scale. It won't really matter in the long term as long as Rammus is focusing my lane, because I feel like I'd want to gank this bot lane because they're not mobile at all.
Yeah, the Senna Tahm Kench is a notoriously gankable lane. It's why they have to play so carefully in the laning phase. We saw what happened when Rusty was already coming down. But it looks like instead Arcadia is going to try and force a dragon, but Rusty wants the all-in. The dragon is up for a smite. Senna's going to secure it, but Grave News will go down. Zaphonic has a massive shield on him, but I don't think he's staying alive for much longer. A nice shuffle from Baba Yaga is going to force Hello's flash, but there is no flashing away from this Rammus. He's too quick. Going to pick himself up a double kill. GBG has no mana, has to walk away from the play.
It just feels like another miscommunication. I mean, mid definitely could have communicated or has communicated that, you know, he has no mana and that, you know, he can't stop Azir from roaming downwards. I think as soon as it got low enough, maybe someone should have positioned as a front line and kind of sacked themselves to try to force that dragon a little bit faster. In this case, I think Tahm Kench might have been the only option to be in the front line since Senna and Trundle were on the dragon.
Yeah, this is the difficulty with these early dragons. We're gonna have to put a pause on that as Rusty is just trying to make this top lane as difficult as possible. The Ignite comes down, the Stormbreaker to disable the tower. Argo has no chance to escape from that gank. GVG wants to find some sort of retaliation, but yeah, nothing to be had. Nicely executed by Nemesis, and just, this is the weak side top lane experience. This is what happens to you.
And we're seeing this Volley start his build into tank, so it's definitely going to cause problems as they have a Gangplank, a Trundle, and a Senna, so there's not going to be much damage on this Volibear as he starts getting stronger. So I think, honestly, although the AP build is more cheesy, I think the tank build is the right move in this case.
Yeah, the AP build, if you're getting this far ahead, like you could potentially go for it, but I think just with the style of team composition that Nemesis has, the tank build is going to end up being more useful. Like we were talking about in draft, you want these meatballs to sit in front of your Sivir, sit in front of your Azir, make sure it's more difficult for Echo and Trundle to get on top of your squishies. And as long as Volibear is doing that, this lead is going to good use.
Yeah, we're looking at quite the difference in the junglers' ganks from both sides. Trundle has been spotted on almost every attempt that he's tried to gank, although he has still had a successful time of ganking even when seen. But I feel like this Rammus just has an easier go button. He just Qs, runs at them, and taunts whoever the nearest person is that he's trying to target.
Yeah, in the like preamble to the game when people were still in those loading positions, we were talking about the Ignite Rammus and the fact like, oh man, he has no flash, no ghost. How is he gonna have like access to these lanes? I think Rusty heard us talking about that and was just like, well, you want to see access to lanes? I'll show you what it looks like when a Rammus gets into the lane, and he's just made it look good.
He has, and honestly, I still want to say, because there is a little bit biased, that it's just because
Stratty is going to fully on the hunt to get Rusty in, and there's just no escape for Hello. Symphonic used the Abyssal Dive to get himself out, had the Devour, but just no chance for Hello to escape.
Yeah, honestly...
Oh, Argo, this is not a position you want to be in, but Gravezeus is up here, so maybe Arca is the one overstepping this time. He's going to be forced to Stormbreaker over the wall. No, he doesn't have it yet, so he has to flash. And with Shutdown Gold on top of him, that is actually a fairly important cooldown to lose. It's just going to run past Echo, ships in the night. GVG really wants to focus down that pink ward. I like the what's the word? The focus. The priority, that's the word. I know English. I swear I speak it good.
I think it was just mainly the fact that he knew that he would have been sandwiched between Volley and Azir, and it just wasn't worth the effort. It's kind of interesting to see what Arcadia is responding. How will they get back to
Symphonic wants to find the all-in, but Rusty is down on the bottom side again. This Rammus, so mobile. We just saw him near the top side, and now he's coming down to the bottom side to keep protecting this bottom lane. He's able to move around the map so nicely with the extra movement speed coming out from his Q. It's so difficult for DZG to actually play around where he is on the map. Arco is in the middle of a really bad trade here. Arca pops the Stormbreaker. Grave News has the subject on top of him, but Argo's just going to go down before he's able to put out any damage. Now it's Grave News versus Arca. It's Lethal Tempo versus Grassy and Dying, but the 2-level lead just a little too strong. Arca is going to walk away from this one happy.
I will say that Trundle Pillar kind of screwed Argo. Unfortunately, it did not stop Volibear from moving forward, and actually, I think bumped him a little bit closer to Argo.
Yeah, that is the micro of the Trundle. That's the really, like, those important pillars that you have to hit when you're saying, okay, I'm going to save my teammate here. I'm going to hit the clutch pillar. We're just going to throw it in between my teammate and the enemy, and if you miss it, you get either your teammate closer or the enemy closer. Either way, it's bad. But if you hit it, you save your teammate. Just in this case, didn't end up being the good one.
I am honestly surprised that Baba Yaga did not try to punish that Senna, because that Senna was definitely nowhere near where they should be.
Yeah, no Tahm Kench, no Echo nearby. That is a dangerous position for the Senna to be in. And it looks like Hello is going for the standard 80 carry build, a build that takes a little bit more gold to get going, so we will need the Kraken Slayer and, at the very least, the Rage Knife to get these components online and start really doing DPS into the Rammus and into the Volibear. It's not as cheap as the lethality build, but it does have the ability to actually, hurt tanks as opposed to the lethality one.
Yeah, like we mentioned, this game needs to be stalled out, and so it's going to be interesting to see if they can stall this out despite the lead that Nemesis has.
Yeah, speaking of the lead, 6,000 gold in their favor, 10 kills to 1. Both Rift Heralds being secured for Nemesis. DZG is definitely on the back foot here, but there is the potential for the comeback. Like we've been talking about in draft, they have the scaling with Gangplank, with Echo, with Senna. It's not impossible for them to come out of this game on top.
Yeah, I mean, I think DZG Arcadia is doing the right thing and not forcing this Drake, trying to scale up. The question is, are they sharing a little bit too much resources together? Because I'm looking at this Senna and Echo in mid lane. I see a Trundle in the jungle, but Gangplank's kind of just trying to hold off this Volibear.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to try and punish Arca on the other side of the map instead. They know he has the Stormbreaker, but no flash available to him. Symphonic's going to get to the other side. They have the exhaust down. They're just pumping damage into this poor tank Volibear. They're going to give the kill over to GVG. I think that is a great choice to give the kill over, but in the meantime, with the Dragon going down, that Rift Herald is going to charge at the mid lane tower and pick up something on the other side of the map for Nemesis.
Yeah, I agree. It's great that it went on to this Echo, since it appears that right now he's the only one that can kind of put out some damage, while Gangplank still needs his second items. Senna just even needs her first item. We'll see how this impacts the rest of this game is with this Echo, since he should be sitting on quite a few gold.
Yeah, this is the style of game where it's going to be really difficult for Echo to actually have access to the backline, and even once he gets there, he has to deal with the Azir wall, the Sivir spell shield, everything that Yuumi can do. So while I really like the fact that the money is going towards him, he better be ready to quite literally 100 to 0 Sivir through exhaust, which is not an easy feat.
Not at all. So at the moment we're at a standstill. What do you think is Arcadia's way of getting back into this game?
We've been talking about the stalling and the scaling. We're going to have a soul check-in in just a couple of seconds here, just to see what level Senna's on. It looks like around 78 souls right now, which for 20 minutes is not terrible. Generally, you want to be getting, like, around 4 or 5 a minute, so in that 80 to 100 range. So a little bit behind, but when you're 0-3 at this point in the game, you expect to be a little behind. So you have the Senna scaling. You really just want to be stopping the bleeding as opposed to trying to make anything new happen. You want to not let this next dragon go over, if at all possible. You want to not let the Baron go down, if at all possible, but if you have to give it up, just make sure that you don't lose like an inhibitor or even an inhibitor turret if you can manage it. Just really trying to stem the bleeding and make sure there isn't a play to be had. Nice Devour from Symphonic. The taunt is going to go onto him. Hello is going to have to flash out. Symphonic has his own flash, but I think he knows he's already dead. Stratty's going to pick that one up.
Yeah, it's just there's almost, it seems like there's all those wards inside the top side jungle.
Rusty's not done. He gets the taunt down on the Grave News. The flash is going to come through. There's the Dawning Shadow for the shield and the heal. Grave News, he's healing so much, but I don't think it's enough. Arca is just able to tank the tower so comfortably with the Yuumi on his back. GVG is here with the flank. Has to echo ulti out, but it's been 4 seconds since he teleported. He's back on the other side of the map. Arca gets picked up by Hello, but it's a double kill for Stratty. He's not able to find the last boomerang onto Hello, but that's still plenty of kills going into Sivir's pocket, and GVG's teleport didn't end up doing enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just the lane states. They're just being pushed up and not respecting this Rammus, because he's just completely flanking, running them from the sides, and it's almost like they don't expect it, even though he's been doing it all game.
Yeah, you can see the vision for DZG right now. It's a couple of pink wards on the bottom side and one vision ward on the top side, one in the Baron pit. It's not enough to be like, okay, we're totally safe from potential Rammus gank here. There's no way he can get behind us. We're perfectly safe. And you can see the aggressive vision that Nemesis has pushed forward. The blue wards, the regular wards, the pink wards that they've put in the river just to make sure that they have vision control so Rammus can go for these plays.
Yeah, I wonder if they heard us, because we're looking at, I think, 3 scanners for Arcadia, so they know that there's wards behind them. They just don't exactly know where they are, and hopefully they can start finding them.
Yeah, this is the difficult part, because they are forced onto their own side of the map, and with the vision control that Nemesis has, not only on their side of the map, but also on Arcadia's side, it becomes a very difficult game of, hey, are we safe from a Rammus gank here, or do we have to start standing back? You can even see Hello and Symphonic just forced to walk back towards their towards their inhibitor tower, just because of the potential of a Rammus gank. They don't see him on the map. They don't know where he is.
Yeah, I think the difficulty that I'm watching is just Arcadia's missing out on these opportunities to kind of freeze the wave as they get them, and just kind of pushing these waves so that they're just...
Oh, GVG gets caught on the recall. Hiroshi with the sweeper is going to find him. GVG is looking for the extra damage on the Baba Yaga. Gets the ulti out and the flash. He's going to be able to escape the 3v1, but I don't think Rammus wants to let him go. They're looking for the all-in. Rusty's going to overshoot it a little bit, but I don't think it matters. The taunt comes through. GVG gets picked up, and on the top side as well, Argo trying desperately to get away from this Volibear, but the slows and all of the damage coming through from the full tank Volibear is just a little too much.
Yeah, this Volley Bear is just abusing the lead that he got. Those early Rammus ganks are paying off, and there's almost nothing this Gangplank can do in 1v1 in top lane.
Yeah, that is a Frozen Heart second item volley bear. There is... I hate to belabor a point, but there is just absolutely nothing. Even with the Lord Dominic's Regard in inventory, it's going to be so difficult for Gangplank to actually, like, step up and farm the wave even, let alone to try and trade with this volley bear.
Yeah, and especially we're looking at this Rammus. He full build Thorn Mail already, so and he's been sitting on it for a while, and he's just gonna get beefier. Meanwhile, Trundle has still not finished his first item.
Yeah, he's got the early Tiamat to try and clear his jungle camps faster, which I don't hate as a concept, but right now, he just needs tank items in inventory. Like, he's gonna have his Divine Sunderer, and that's probably the only damage item he should actually be getting as this game moves on.
Yeah, and we're seeing this Echo kind of want to continue this free farm, so hopefully he can get enough items to make a difference in these team fights. Because
Symphonic looking for a very aggressive engage, but he's all on his lonesome in a 3 versus 1 now. Hello and Grave News are going to be rotating nearby. Symphonic is going to be forced to flash away. Stratty is going to pop you on the hunt. Rammus is going in, a nice unstoppable to get away from the center route. Means that he goes unstoppable now. Argo now forced to use the blast gun to get over the wall. GVG's on the bottom side trying to trade into the volley bear. But that's a full tank volley bear. I don't think the Assassin Echo is going to be doing a ton of damage to him.
I mean, Trundle is supposedly supposed to do well into tanks, but right now it just seems like they're just too beefy, and he cannot take enough stats from them.
Yeah, even with the Red Smite, even with the Subjugate, and even with the Divine Sunderer, Rusty with the Yumi on top of him just becomes so unbelievably tanky. And with no heal cut coming out from most of Arcadia right now, the only heal cut being the Bramble Vest on Symphonic, which eventually will become a Thorn Mail, which, as if he gets a knock-up, will provide that 50% anti-heal, but otherwise it's just 25%. It's not a ton.
Well, I mean, don't forget the fact that we're looking at a Kraken Senna, so maybe, you know, heal cut is a little bit lame these days with the way that Riot's nerfing, so we're just looking at hopefully the Senna can make a difference and just take out those tanks with autos, but it's going to be quite a few autos at this rate.
Yeah, it's going to take quite a bit of time to get there. Like we were talking about with DZG, they want to scale, they want to get into the late game. But if Nemesis can continue to push their lead aggressively like they have been, I mean, they're 10,000 gold up, closing in on 11,000. It just becomes more and more difficult for you to even sit in a lane and farm, like we've been talking about. Try and even just like pick up any resources that are available on the map. You can see Argo, a nice crit barrel, does plenty of damage. There's a fight happening in the mid lane. Symphonic devours Hello. This is probably the best position they're going to get. Grave News taking up so much damage on the front side, but there's no follow-up. Symphonic is going to finally go down. It's a double kill for Stratty. He flashes forward into the tower, knowing that the Yumi will be there for him. It's a quadra kill for the Sivir. And this game is probably all but over.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to see what adjustments Arcadia can make after this.
Yeah, this is one of those games where you are sitting behind your monitor as the AD carry, as the jungler, and you're thinking about, like, what can I possibly do next game? A nice shuffle from Baba Yaga. Argo's going to be able to get out, but I think they don't really care about the kills at this point. It is just about the Nexus towers and the Nexus. Stratty's going to bump up his numbers a little bit, farm up some minions, maybe look for some damage onto Argo. Arcadia is respawning, though. It is fairly early in the game, but it is not going to be in time. Nemesis is going to go up 1-0. Yeah, that's a game that, that's one of those ones that it hurts to play in. It really is about at this point now, the mental fortitude for Arcadia to be able to come back in game 2, shake off that loss and say, okay, how do we adjust in draft? How do we adjust in early game? How do we not let that happen again?
Yeah, and I think the answer might be exactly how your solo queue answered. Don't let the Yumi through.
Don't let the Yumi through. I don't hate the advice as an avid Yumi hater. I'm all for it, but we are going to be taking a short break before we hop into the draft for Game 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Game 3.
but you know, baby.
The calm before the storm. Things aren't as they were before. You best start bracing. Did you think you could keep us out? Shut the gates, forget us now. Tides are changing. Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution.
I'm walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul.
sense that you can't confess. I'm just your ghost if we're not undressed. A part of me wish that we never...
Apologies for the long wait, but we are finally getting into draft for game number 2, not game number 3, of DZG Arcadia versus Nemesis. After a grueling loss in game 1, we're hoping that DZG can bounce back in game 2 with a positive mental, and I'm already seeing something that I love. Yumi is banned.
Yeah, and that is one alteration to the drafts. What do you think that they're gonna go for that Seraphine as well, just because it basically runs the same way?
I think there's the potential for Arcadia to actually first pick the Seraphine if they really feel like it could be a problem, and force Nemesis to waste their third ban on it if they don't want to give it away as that priority pick. Then again, there is also the Sivir, so there are options. It will depend on what Arcadia sees as the priority.
Yeah, that Sivir did become a problem, but I feel like without that Yumi, that Sivir wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, there is the potential for that. There are other supports that match well with Sivir. It will just depend on what they see as the issue. And it looks like the Sivir's going to stay up. They're going to ban away the Hecarim and the Silas instead. And with Nemesis keeping on to those same bans of the Amumu and the Vel'Koz, I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw the Ashe taken away third once again.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice because Hecarim was left open last game and they did not take it. So I'm not quite sure if this was the ban that we were looking for.
Yeah, they opted to take away the Zac last time around, but it looks like Nemesis doesn't want to deal with the Sivir on their own end, so they're going to not let Arcadia first pick that one. I don't hate it. Sivir's very strong right now.
So what do you think we're going to see? I mean, there's an option of potentially we're looking at an Arcadia with a Seraphine Renata bot lane, potentially.
There's Seraphine Renata. If you want to run the Seraphine as the bot lane carry, you can move her mid lane. You could even have her as the support with something like an Ezreal or another mage. You have plenty of options, but it looks like they're going to ignore the Seraphine entirely and grab the Diana first pick instead.
That is quite a spicy pick. For mid lane, typically in solo queue, now I'm always seeing the Diana Yasuo combo just because it's so easy to pull off, but I'm not quite sure if that's in GVG's champ pool at the moment.
Yeah, you do have to be a somewhat proficient Yasuo player to run the Yasuo in mid lane, and then also take advantage of those Diana Yasuo combos in the mid and late game, and even during like 2v2s in the mid lane, roaming towards bot or top. There are other things to pair with the Diana, and Diana could even go mid lane if it's something that GVG is comfortable with. It is an AP assassin with a similar playstyle to Echo, so I wouldn't be shocked. But it does have the flexibility, which I like. Nemesis is going to grab the Sejuani, the very safe, very standard tank top laner.
They are quite a beefy team as their second pick is a Leona. I guess we're looking for exactly a similar comp that they had last game, where mainly the jungler is kind of running engaged. They run with a fellow tank buddy. Last game, I believe it was the top Volibear. It's be interesting if that's going to make it through in the second round of bans.
Yeah, the Sejuani is flexible between top and jungle. It will just depend on whether Rusty or Arca wants to have that in their hands. And it looks like Arcadia, in response to the Leona, is going to lock in the bot lane duo Xayah and Rakan, which is a little surprising to see this early, but I don't hate either of these picks into Leona.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make an impact, especially since we're looking at Rakan with his grand entrance trying to go into the other team, but I'm not quite sure I want to go into any of that team, especially if they add the gangplank with the Leona and Sejuani in the front line.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult team to engage into, and even a difficult team to counter-engage into, just as we have such good disengage tools from the Sejuani and from the gangplank, and then Leona to take advantage of those and engage herself. We're setting up for a tough all-in for Arcadia, as it looks like that's what they're trying to plan for. The Mordekaiser is going to be banned away from Argo again. Even if that Sejuani is heading into the jungle and the Gangplank is headed towards the top, it's still not the worst matchup for Mordekaiser. That level 6, when you get those, when you get the Death Realm, the orange is a little annoying, but still it's a cooldown force out of him, so if you have your jungler up there, it's an easy flash force or even just a kill.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see that Mordekaiser's still banned despite the Gangplank being on the map. I guess they... Go ahead.
It is an interesting one just because it is a somewhat favorable matchup to the Gangplank, but it potentially is just comfort for Argo, just a champion that he likes to run into any matchup. So to see ban the Orianna band as well, it looks like Nemesis just doesn't want to change up their band strategy too much, has a certain plan going into this best of 3, and it looks like they're going to try and stick with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if we're gonna see the reverse of this and see a Volibear come out, just to just to see how DZG Arcadia's Volibear goes into a Gangplank.
We're going to have to wait and see, as it is the mid lanes being taken away by Arcadia. The LeBlanc and the Azir are going to be taken away from Baba Yaga. Both of these champions with a fair bit of safety in their kits, who can either stay far away as long as they want to with the potential for the all-in, or just stay away in general, in total, if you're talking about Azir's case. Seeing that taken away from Baba Yaga, not too surprising. The Caitlyn is a great pairing with Leona, just taking advantage of all that crowd control to lock them down with those Yordle snap traps.
Yeah, and range that Caitlyn has is going to make it especially difficult for this Xayah to farm. I feel like Caitlyn is a lane bully, and she's going to do exactly that, especially when paired with that Leona. It's going to be quite difficult for this Rakan and Xayah to farm and kind of get pressure in bot lane or priority in lane, when this Caitlyn can literally just push them in.
Yeah, Caitlyn does have a lot of that lane pushing potential, but unlike the Senatom Kench lane that we saw last time, Xayah Rakan is a much more aggressive, much more fighting lane. And if you're a jungler, you're looking at a Xayah Rakan, you're thinking, maybe the potential for some bottom lane ganks. Maybe look to follow up with the Rakan CC. As we see the Akshan get locked in for Arcadia. I'm not 100% certain whether that's going mid or top, but that is a spicy pick, to say the least.
I want to say, knowing Arcadia, it's more likely to go mid. But let's see what our last pick is.
Letting the timer tick down on this last pick, and that's a Victor lock-in, which I think means that Akshan is going up towards the top into the Gangplank, and the Diana is going into the jungle. A fairly spicy draft from Arcadia. No real frontline, no real tanks, just aggressive lane bullies and a Victor.
Yeah, it's going to be quite, to round it out, let's see what Nemesis is choosing, but with the way that Arcadia is, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to engage on these fights.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to wait until the champion select is getting locked in inside the client. But that is an Echo locked in, which we can assume is going into the mid lane. We've got Sejuani in the jungle, Gangplank top. Nemesis' draft is fairly stock standard. You've got your tank engaged jungler, you have your engaged support, and you have your damaging carries. Whereas Arcadia just seems to be like a team full of damaging carries and a Rakan.
I feel like with that Gangplank, definitely going to put pressure on that bot lane, just because you already have the Caitlyn, you have the Leona, they're on a go button. With Sejuani ult as well, I feel like that Gangplank's just going to be keeping his second eye just on this bot lane and just ready to throw his ult on any neutral objective fights.
Yeah, there's a lot of zone control for Nemesis with the Sejuani, the Leona, the Gangplank, even the Echo, and even the Caitlyn providing like a decent amount of zone control with the traps. It's just so difficult to enter choke points or the river as a whole when you're trying to play into this draft. You have the Solar Flare to worry about. You have Sejuani on a flank with the Glacial Prison. You have the Caitlyn traps where you have an entire entrance that you can't walk through. There's so much that you have to worry about looking to engage as Rakan or as Diana, or even to look for a pick as Akshan. It's going to be a very difficult draft for Arcadia to play out.
Yeah, especially when Nemesis had the better wards in the last game. It is going to be crucial that no one is picked off with before any neutral objective fight. Otherwise, they're just not going to be able to attempt it, especially with Sejuani and Leona being able to tank most of the damage going in, and Rakan being their only real support engage outside of Diana.
Yeah, I do just want to point out that as we're looking in the client draft now, that's a Victor for Argo. The Akshan is going into GVG's hands, so it is mid lane Akshan and top lane Victor, which is not something I've seen in a very long time.
Surprisingly enough, this season in solo queue, I have seen Victor utilized up top, but I feel like it is definitely dependent on the laner knowing how to play Victor, because top lane has, I think this season has especially become a cheese lane. It's literally, if you can get that counter pick or you have something that you can kind of cheese on, it just makes it so much easier to play into. I think the Victor being that in the second round made it a lot difficult for the other team to determine who really is playing in mid lane. But just watching this, I still feel like Nemesis has the upper hand, but depending on how the lane states play out, because they do have a lot more damage with the exception of Rakan, maybe that's all they needed. They just needed damage.
Yeah, if they can play their laning phases a bit more aggressively and look to be getting the early lead as opposed to being on the back foot like we saw in game one, there's a potential for Arcadia to snowball this one out of control and look to pick up this game to win and take us into that third game of the series. But I think it's going to be a difficult hill to climb. Nemesis's draft is just very easy to play out. It's a very standard draft. It's got a simple execution as opposed to Arcadia, which is going to rely on a lot of factors to actually be able to be pulled off.
Yeah, and the Sejuani kind of has her passive being able to be procs in all 3 lanes, so it's not like she's going to really have a preference on a single lane because there's a Leona, there's an Echo, and there's a Gangplank that will all have that melee range.
Yeah, we've got a tough draft for Arcadia to play through, and a very simple to execute draft for Nemesis. But before we hop to a break, I just want to ask, how's your solo queue experience been recently? Do you feel like you got a good amount of experience for yourself? You've been playing up to that level that you hope you would see for yourself?
I feel like I am definitely a solo queue warrior. It's been crazy, and honestly, I think I just need to pick a role before I continue on with the rest of my ranked season. What about you?
My solo queue experience, honestly, it's been a little lacking, and I think I might have to grab some help from tonight's second sponsor, MetaFi. MetaFi is a coaching service that will help you get the right coach to reach your gaming goals with games including Valorant, Rocket League, and most importantly, the one we're talking about tonight, League of Legends, along with a handful of other games. The prices will vary between coaches as it is a personalized experience, and some of these coaches will even offer free intro sessions. The coaches will vary by rank, but most will offer both live coaching and VOD reviews. If you use the link below in chat right now, you can get $10 of credit after completing your first booking, so you can start your climb to your dream rank today. Now don't go anywhere as we wait for the spectator delay to tick down and get us into game 2. We'll be right back.
Those hands and lights can't stop me. I'll just hold on for dear life. Yeah, I can't give up this feeling that I get when looking down from the sky. Now with you, now with you, this high. sad lights can't stop me. I'll just hold on for dear life. Yeah, I can't give up this feeling that I get when looking down from the sky. Give up this
We are back and getting underway into game 2. A lot faster than last time, but we are here and ready to go. The lane assignment's being a little bit trickier than we had expected, but I think we should see some good laning from Arcadia anyway.
Yeah, and we're looking at a invade this time. I mean, they definitely do have the weapons. Unfortunately, Sejuani was missing something since they had to go back to base. But with Arcadia with a regular 5-point, I don't think we're gonna see much of anything happen unless they decide to pursue all the way in.
Yeah, I do like this really smart early ward from Hello just to make sure that he's not in danger if the invade does come through. Rusty's going to spot the ward, so they'll be able to clear it out, but that is full information for Arcadia. They know the bottom side invade was happening. The wards do provide a little bit of vision even after they die, so they should have seen that Nemesis was walking away from the play as well.
And with Gangplank getting that first ward, that means that he will be able to get level 2 before the Victor. Not that it'll matter much in that lane since Victor will pretty much utilize his E or Q to kind of poke him out. It is interesting to see that we are not seeing a first strike on the Victor, so he's not going to get that free goal from just poking out. Meanwhile, Gangplank did opt for that first strike.
Yeah, I do also want to point out that Argo and GVG are actually swapping lanes. They want to get the more favorable matchup into the Echo and into the Akshan. So they're choosing instead to have the Akshan run into the Gangplank, which I think is the better call, and have the Victor try and negate this Echo as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's it's kind of interesting to see if they
Ooh, GVG already winning on these trades. You can see the power that the range top lane has into Gangplank this early. It's going to be a struggle for him in this laning phase as it goes on.
Yeah, and we also saw that Meta Rusty this time did opt to actually run Flash, so he's not as confident on it as his Rammus.
Yeah, the Rammus with the Ignite not being matched with Sejuani. Sejuani is instead going to take the regular Flash, which I think is fine for Sejuani. She can use Flash to get into ganks and get into position fairly easily. It's not the worst. Symphonic wants to find a level 2 engage. Hiroshi's going to land the stun and get that Glacial Augment down. So it is just a miniature trade of health bars. GVG going very aggressive with the swing to try and get some extra damage onto Arca. This is an aggressive Akshan early. This is what I like to see.
Yeah, the last time we were looking at an aggressive Gangplank that got punished by an early gank. So the question is, will the junglers kind of show up at the same time and counter each other, or are we going to watch kind of a repeat of last time?
Yeah, we do have both junglers padding towards the top side. Rusty is going to be up here first. DZG is moving to get the ward down, but it's just a little too late, but does have the flash and the swing to get himself out of trouble. Now Argo trying to get aggressive on the Baba Yaga. Has grave news here as well. Baba Yaga has his flash. The Argo is positioning nicely over the wall to make sure that there is no chance of escape. GVG has been found by Rusty again, though. There's the Ignite coming down from GVG. He's going to look to get those last autos off. Rusty flashes the wall, but it's first blood going to GVG.
Honestly, I feel like if Sejuani had stayed to fight, I feel like he had the opportunity to actually make a difference. But because he flashed away, he gave an opportunity to Akshan to actually use that range.
Yeah, do you also know what would have won Sejuani that 1v1?
Ignite.
Ignite would have won that 1v1. But Rusty opting for the flash, I think it will be more useful as the game goes on. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna blame him for taking flash. It is the more useful summoner spell as time goes on. But Ignite would have won the 1v1, so I have to point it out.
I don't know. I'm expecting perhaps a flash ult from Sejuani later on this game from an angle that the other team just doesn't expect.
Yeah, Q to get the angle, then flash to get the angle again, and throw the ulti. Grave News is going to find Rusty and just force him away, just trying to farm up his Krug camp safely and nicely and defend his bottom lane from this gank. Nice positioning.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar to last game. We saw the Echo mid lane get that early first kill. This time, he's top lane with his Akshan. He got that early kill. Can he make a difference in this game?
Yeah, that was the problem that we saw last game. Echo just wasn't able to translate enough of that early lead. GVG was attempting to be aggressive and attempting to make plays, but it really was playing through his own lane as opposed to trying to extend his lead elsewhere. And that's what you really can do when you're in mid lane, especially on a champion like Echo. You can look to roam with your jungler, look to make plays happen. And with the lanes being more even at this point in the game, maybe we can see Victor or even Akshan with that invisibility passive make something like that happen.
Yeah, and already Echo is making that deep ward, but I mean, it really doesn't do anything in this turn.
GVG is here. He's behind. Baba Yaga is on the wrong side of the map. GVG is here. He doesn't know Baba Yaga is going to take those passive autos and gift the kill over to Argo. That's the lead we want to see coming from GVG. Nice gang.
Yeah, honestly, it's surprising that no one had calmed. By the way, Akshan's missing from my lane, but it does great for DZG Arcadia that he's able to get off the roam and get another kind of kill position for his team.
Yeah, I feel like we're doing the opposite of caster cursing in this game. Like last time with GVG, we were talking about the Echo ulti tech, and he was able to pull it off like a minute after we had kept talking about it. And now with us talking about Akshan's ability to roam, he gets a roam off mid, gives the kill over to his mid laner. He's already feeling super nice in this series.
Yeah, and it's great because this Victor with... Oh, I thought his back was about to be stopped. But basically, with that Victor, if he gets more kills or even assists, he's able to get his augments earlier, which will make a huge difference in team fights.
Yeah, even just getting that early E augment to make sure that he has enough wave clear to match Echo and make sure that he's in a position to either follow the roams or punish the fact that Echo does want to roam. This is a really good position for Victor to be in.
Yeah, and we're watching Sejuani kind of trying to figure out where Grave News is because she went all the way to Wolves and was not able to find anything. So if anything, she's just wasting her time and Diana's just getting all this farm out.
Yeah, Symphonic is going to look for a miniature roam towards the mid lane here with Grave News. We've got both supports walking towards it and just letting the 80 carries farm out on the bottom side. And for right now, Rusty is going to find Grave News. This fight comes through for Grave. He's going to be able to find the big Raptor. But it looks like Rusty's just going to take a couple of the small ones and walk away, not wanting to take the extended fight with the Diana.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if that's really worth it as long as Diana did get that big chicken. Otherwise, what is he really doing other than seeing where this Diana is? Because I feel like it's just Diana's just getting this farm out, and Sejuani kind of is taking this time to roam all the way into the jungle to do nothing.
Yeah, she does have a lot of her camps up right now, so she should be able to get a pretty nice clear, going from bottom all the way up to top side with her Raptors and her red respawning, which I assume means her Krugs are probably going to be respawning soon. I haven't watched all of her clear for this game. GVG is going to drop the Ignite immediately, looks to get aggressive. There's to come up, and Zorka has nothing to block for him! GVG with another solo kill coming out.
Yeah, I feel like some people are just not used to this Akshan because if he had flash into his minions, that ult wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, I think this early in the game, pre-level 11 and 16, it's only 4 shots that come out of the ulti. So if you just stand like behind 4 minions, all of them get blocked and the whole Akshan ulti is gone.
And not just that, that was a big wave, so that would literally be tanking Akshan.
Ooh, Baba Yaga has the Ignite, but gets stunned. There's that Victor Slowfield. Baba Yaga forced to flash away. Doesn't have the Echo tech. He did put a point in his ulti, so he doesn't know what's up. But that is a flash and the Ignite burned away from Baba Yaga. Nice positioning on the gravity field from Argo.
Yeah, I mean, everything so far is going DZG's way, and I feels like it's gonna be interesting to see where Grave News decides, hey, I want to give gold to this lane because it all three lanes kind of benefit from it. I think honestly top and mid are the better options just because it looks like boss side's weak side, so you just literally let them farm under turret and let them exist. But if you get Victor gold or Akshan gold, you're gonna see either a Kraken from Akshan or even augment from not an augment, but a full mythic item from Victor.
Rusty trying to get aggressive here in the mid lane, but Argo with a nice sidestep away from the Winter Charge to make sure that that doesn't come through. The Herald, early taken by Grave News, is going to be Pop's top lane just to extend the lead of this auction. He doesn't get any of the plate gold for those first two. The money does go straight to Diana, but gets his all in on the second one. Rusty is here though, looking to get in on Grave News, who is positioned a little poorly here. The Glacial Prison is going to come down with a nice two-man moonfall from Grave News. Is going to make sure the trade goes 1-for-1. GVG doesn't have any mana, so he doesn't want to take the extra aggressive top lane dive, but that is still a play coming out ahead for DZG again.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if Rusty meant to ult the Akshan, especially with the Diana being under turret. I feel like he waited so long that, you know, the opportunity kind of came and went. There was a chance to get that Diana while she's under turret and kind of make sure that she's not going to fight back at all.
Yeah, I still think a really nice play from DZG. I like the counter engage on the Moonfall, even though it was close to being under tower. Making that 1-for-1 happen when you're already ahead is totally fine. GVG is going to continue to bully this lane out as much as he really wants to with the item lead that he has. He really wants to kick up the double buffs off of Arca, but I just don't think it's going to happen with the mana he has. He's going to be forced to just clear this wave, walk away, get his recall off. Looks like I'm going to have to keep talking for a bit as Baba Yaga and Rusty are getting in onto Argo. Nice flash away from Argo. The stun does come through, but the return stun from the gravity field means that he's just fine. Nice all-in from the bottom side. DZG looking to get aggressive on all sides of the map here. But Stratty with a nice 90 caliber net means that there's no engage to happen.
And I think the fact that Argo being on Victor mid and actually winning his lane kind of is putting a lot of pressure on Nemesis because unlike last time, it is like last time, it is a Hex Tech, but unlike last time, they're actually not forcing this Drake yet.
Oh, GVG is going to be able to get away from the barrels really nicely. That heroic swing just covers so much distance, and Arca doesn't have any crowd control to stop it. I do want to take a second to talk about this bottom lane, because in the draft, we were kind of questioning the early Xayah and Rakan. And I think especially now, we sort of have to, as much as DZG is winning their lanes and they're coming ahead really nicely, I worry about the fact that they picked the Xayah and Rakan, a very aggressive 2v2, 3v3 bottom lane pairing, and then make them weak side with the Victor and with the Akshan. Oh, we're going to have to put that on pause as Symphonic wants the heroic entrance onto Stratty, but Stratty has his flash and his heal is going to be able to get away, but Hiroshi might be the sacrifice. The exhaust comes down to the Grave News. I think he's actually going to be able to escape. All four of the Summoners burn from the Nemesis bottom lane. Now the return is coming through. Baba Yaga with a nice roam, but a great Feather Storm from Hello is he's going to survive. Symphonic is going to be picked up instead. The Ace in the Hole is going to get blocked by Grave News, but Hello is going to take the Glacial Prison. They're coming under tower. No root comes through for Hello, so everyone from Nemesis is going to survive. Baba Yaga takes 2 shots and walks out. Beautifully played by Nemesis, and a tragedy for DZG.
I mean, to be fair, yes, they did get bot lane ahead and, you know, Echo was able to benefit off of it, but I still think that with the way that DZG is playing it, they still have a lot of pressure on the top half of the map, and there is potential that that's actually more dangerous than actually getting bot lane ahead, just simply because Rakan and Xayah can bear it out. But with this lead that they're having in top lane and mid lane, can they really afford to give up the waves just for this Victor to free farm and actually get closer to more augments?
Yeah, we do also have to point out, like, with that bottom lane play happening, that's really good for Nemesis. They're getting kills onto Stratty and Rusty, picking up gold as well. But Victor's 30 CS ahead, and it's only going to extend as this game continues on. GVG wants to find the dive. He's going to force the flash out of Arca. There's the comeuppance. Step under your tower! No! GVG is going to find his 3rd solo kill of the game.
Yeah, I honestly am kind of questioning what he was thinking when he flashed even further away from that turret. I understood getting some distance because it was painful getting all that damage from up close, but he did not have to run away from that turret. That turret could have defended him.
Yeah, it's just I think it's the lack of knowledge with the Akshan matchup in general, just because it's not a champion that you see very commonly ever, let alone in the top lane. So I think it's just again, that lack of knowledge that Arca has. Like, oh, hey, I play against Akshan all the time. I know how to play this matchup. I know his damage ranges. I know exactly what all of his abilities do. It's a lot to manage for a champion that you are uncomfortable seeing in general, let alone in your lane.
Yeah, and we're looking at that fully completed Kraken, and with Gangplank just carrying an Essence Reaver, if he does not get any assistance, I get they're weak siding him, but I'm not quite sure how much more of a beating he can take.
Yeah, this series has just been a game of beat up the Gangplank, so it seems. Just both times the top lane GP just being forced to take on the brunt of the punishment. Baba Yaga is going to get a nice trade in here onto Argo, but he's a level 11 Victor with Ludens in inventory. He's got Symphonic nearby as well, so he's feeling very comfortable.
It's gonna be, I think. What do you think of the build? Do you think Ludens is the right call, Leandries? Just because they do offer a Leona and a Sejuani, in addition to Echo having that to kind of get back some HP.
In normal circumstances, I would say Victor almost always wants to grab the Leandries because he's a very consistent caster, really likes the CDR that comes from that Mythic passive. The burn applies really well with his abilities, the extra bonus damage coming off of it as well. But in this case, you have a Xayah and an Akshan, two champions who are actually fairly good at burning down tanks. Akshan with his percent health passive, and Xayah just with the amount of burst that you can do with the Featherstorm. Argo wants to get the punish onto Arca as well. GVG heroically swings in to go on a rampage for himself and heroically swings back out, taking some CS along the way.
Yeah, Gangplank came mid thinking, hey, I'm finally getting a late opponent that I can farm against. And you just see Akshan sitting in the wings waiting for him.
Yeah, this is what the Akshan wants to do. You take the lane that you're winning in, you keep pressing your advantage, you keep bullying forward, and you just make it unplayable for the Gangplank. He's 1-3 right now. He has the Essence Reaver completed in inventory. He'll probably go Shield Bow next just for that extra bit of safety, since he didn't get the Mythic Sheen item. Just wants to get as much crit as possible, try and get himself to those barrels as quickly as possible. But it's gonna be a difficult one for him to get to. As we saw the Gangplank in Game 1, when you get behind, it's such an uphill battle for you to get to these items and actually get to that relevant point.
Well, I mean, there is a slight difference in the way that they're building. The Gangplank last game.
GVG, you have stepped up too far forward. A nice two-man moonfall from Grave News, but Shutdown is going to go over to Baba Yaga. It's a double kill for the Echo, and just an aggressive overstep from DZG and a nice punish from Nemesis.
Yeah, I was actually about to comment. I'm not quite sure if Sejuani wants to continue with that Dark Seal, but I mean, if she continues to get these...
Poor Arcus, man. Arca just wanted to be like, yes, we had a successful play. I get to farm. Victor says no. Goodbye.
If anything, I think what happened is they were like, you know what? DZG Arcadia was just big braining it. They said, hey, he's not worth gold. Let's let him get some gold back and then do him again.
Give him like some assists and a kill just to make sure he could like be in the game, and then just to shut him down again.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of interested in seeing how this Sejuani is going to progress, because she is carrying this Dark Seal. Is it just, temporary cheap item to kind of have, or is she actually, trying to run a Magi's on a Sejuani?
I would be surprised if we end up seeing the completed Magi's. I know a lot of junglers, because they are gank-heavy junglers, not ones who want to farm very much. They find a lot of value from the Dark Seal. The fact that when you get those full stacks, I believe you get a little bit of extra movement speed. I don't remember if that's just the Magi's or if that's on the Dark Seal as well, but it is an effective extra bit of damage for her in these trades. A nice ulti from Hello, just to make sure he doesn't die to Baba Yaga. But it means that Sejuani's a little bit more self-sustaining in these fights, and now with the completed Sunfire and what I assume is going to be a Demonic Embrace afterwards, this Sejuani will be very self-sustaining and actually pretty difficult to match into in a 1v1.
Yeah, and we're seeing Grave News carry this Rift, so Is he gonna use it?
Oh, Hiroshi wants in. There's multiple stuns going down to the Grave Moose. He doesn't have time to get the Moonfall. Just finds one onto Baba Yaga. The teleport comes through from Argo just to deny the rest of the play. Baba Yaga is forced to flash out, and so is Hiroshi. And the play is successfully nullified. Not the worst outcome for Arcadia.
Especially when they have Dragon and right there, and they have numbers.
Yeah, and now with the Rift Herald going to be walking towards mid lane, it's going to be another thing that Nemesis has to focus on. The Dragon is going to burst it down fairly quickly. Grave Blues will smite that one down. GVG just throwing the comeuppance just to get a little bit of extra damage in onto Baba Yaga, put the pressure down. Argo, you are walking very aggressively into Stratty. Hiroshi is here, but so is Symphonic. A little bit of miscommunication from both of the teams. The ace in the hole is going to find Symphonic eventually. Baba Yaga is going to pick up the last hit on both of those kills. GVG wants to keep the play happening, but Baba Yaga just going to dash himself over the wall, going to be totally fine. Now Rusty looking to get aggressive onto GVG, but that is Akshan. He is really good at shredding tanks. So Meta Rusty is going to be forced to move away. And again, an aggressive overstep from Argo on this Victor, and another punish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure what his intent there was, or there was just some miscommunication with the way the pathing was, because he looked like he was ready, you know, to just release all of his abilities and just burst someone. But it looked like his team wanted that safer path, and, you know, let's get the Rift under turret and get the gold from there.
Yeah, it felt like a bit of tunnel vision, just seeing a Caitlyn potentially on their own. They didn't have a ton of vision in the bottom side jungle of Nemesis, but it just ended up being a good punish for Nemesis. Watching Victor sort of walk into their team being like, oh, free gold. Cool. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the attempted follow-up from Symphonic. As long as your team is making plays together, even if it's the wrong call and the wrong play, you can make something happen. But if each individual player is making their own call and their own play, nothing's ever going to work.
Yeah, and with the lead that Arcadia has on CES, it is quite surprising to see how close the game is in kills.
Yeah, it's just been I think just those couple of times where you've had these over aggressive steps, Arcadia tried to salvage the play, like we saw Symphonic there supporting Argo, trying to make sure that they could get at least 1 or 2 kills out of it. It ends up trading 2 back, which I think is starting to even out the kill score a lot more.
Yeah, I still think that it's in favor of Arcadia in terms of the scaling, because that Victor just hurts later on. Diana is going tank mode, so she'll be beefy enough to stand there for a little bit and buy some more time for Akshan to do damage from the outside. I mean, he's got Kraken, he's got Blade of the Rune King. If he goes for like an LDR item, I don't want to be that front line anymore.
Yeah, with 2.5 minutes away on the next Dragon, and the Baron being up now, though it is the very early Baron, so I don't expect either team to go aggressively reaching for it. I'm expecting that we're not going to see a ton of action in the meantime. This will probably be one of the last Nashers into Sunfire Diana builds that we ever see. It is getting nerfed on the next patch, 12.16. But in the meantime, we're going to have to put that on pause. Meta Rusty looking to get aggressive onto Argo, trading the stuns back and forth, but Argo is totally fine to take those aggressive trades. He's got the Honey Fruit and his team coming to back him up. So no play to be had there.
Yeah, and we're seeing this Akshan kind of be on the other side of the map. I was interested in seeing, are you guys just gonna try to have Akshan match the gangplank, you know, to continuously put him in the ground, just because the danger of Echo bursting Akshan is there.
Yeah, Akshan does not have a ton of magic resist. He built the steel caps to make that matchup with Gangplank a lot easier, try and make it a lot better for himself. But when he's matching up into Echo, that armor is really not going to matter. I do also want to point out that Arca is going for the Prowler's Claw build, not the Immortal Shield, though, as I had earlier anticipated. So when he gets to those crits, and he starts getting crits on these squishy members of DZG, they're gonna hurt. It's just gonna take him a little while to get there.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlyn opted for the Gale Forest build, so I feel like even though the other team doesn't really have anything to get on her except for maybe the Diana, and potentially, if you're not paying attention, the Rakan with the W, and then the Granite with his ult. But I feel like here you could honestly build Kraken as the Caitlyn, because you outrange so much of them and they don't really have an ability to get on you.
Yeah, the Gale Force is really just for that added safety because you're worried about Diana and Rakan diving you. They have a little bit of crowd control, so just making sure that you can position yourself properly or even use it aggressively to try and pick off an Akshan who's running away from a fight, or a Zaya who's ulted away from a fight and is just surviving on like a sliver of HP. I don't hate the Gale Force. I think it still can be an aggressive item as GBG is getting engaged on Baba Yaga with a nice cancel on the heroic swing. The comeuppance is going to come through. It won't do enough damage to kill, but it is going to make sure that Baba Yaga is fully out of this next dragon fight that is coming up in around 10 seconds. So that's overall actually a positive trade for DZG, despite the aggressor being Nemesis.
Yeah, I think the danger is though is no one is really responding to this gangplank that has continuously pushed top lane and is now at their inhib turret.
Yeah, they are going to be able to take this Infernal Dragon unless Ratsky can get in for a steal. He's looking for it. Doesn't land a smite. Nice secure by Grave News. They will be able to pick up Rusty as he flashes over the wall. But yeah, like you were talking about, Arca is just on this top side, happily pushing away. He picked up that inner tower and is looking to get damage on the inhibitor one. Argo is going to be forced to teleport away to make sure that it actually does, that push does actually get stopped. But that's still a lot of gold going into Gangplank's pockets, and any gold for Gangplank is good gold.
Oh, he almost got caught in that bush. I think if Argo was just, passively using his E ability just to check bushes, they might have actually picked him off yet again.
Yeah, I mean, you can even look at the top lane gold right now. Despite GVG having 3 more kills and 40 more CS, the gold is only 1,000 in difference, about 1,400. It's not a lot for what you would expect for how insane the gap has been in this top lane.
Yeah, and we're also, if you, it's interesting to note that even though Diana only has 2 KP, she still is about 1,000, 2,000, yeah, about 1,000 gold ahead of the Sejuani, who has participated in team fights and has the KP of 7.
Yeah, 7 out of 8 KP is nothing to sniff at. Sejuani has been here for pretty much every single one of Nemesis' kills, trying to make plays happen, and that's what you would want to see on a jungler like Sejuani. GVG is getting engaged on. Baba Yaga is going to take a big burst from GVG. Those Symphonics are going to chase him down, force out the ulti. GVG is ulting in the middle of the minion wave, so he is going to be able to grab some farm while he takes this fight. There's the quickening from Symphonic, and shutdown gold goes over to GVG.
Yeah, if you're Nemesis, you really do not want to see any shutdown gold given to this Octon.
Yeah, already 2.5 items, looking to pick up that third fairly soon, especially with that shutdown gold going into his pocket. Grave News just poking at Rusty a little bit. They're both Sunfire tanks, so there's not going to be a ton of fighting happening between them, I would expect. But they're both approaching that demonic embrace, though it is important to note that it will be a third item for Grave News as opposed to the second item for Rusty.
Yeah, well, Akshan has finished his LDR and just full bought another pickaxe. So what do you think is his next item?
I'm hoping that we see the Infinity Edge. I want to see him just go all in for it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something a little bit more defensive, but if he can just continue to one-shot people with this full crit build, we're going to have to put on a pause as Grave News has the flank onto Stratty, gets the 90 caliber net and the Gale Force away, is able to save his flash. But importantly, no ulti burned from the Diana, so they have the potential to try and make that play happen again.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the Diana's net caliber could have honestly... Symphonic?
Symphonic, he's going to just use that Rakan ability, just stashes over a couple walls, a couple of screens away, no big deal. He's got allies around, he's fine. But that's the kind of play you want to be seeing when you have a support like Rakan, someone who can be a little bit more aggressive when they're looking for wards, because they have the safety of the double dash, the triple dash, and speaking of safety, Symphonic wants to get in, the Twickness and Australia's pop, but he's just one-shot. Grave News with a great 3-man moonfall, he finds the target, and there's the Chaos Storm on top of it, huge damage from Argo, it's just gonna blow up every single one of Nemesis' members, triple kill, goes over to the Victor, 4 people down for Nemesis, and the push is on for Arcadia.
Yeah, that was a great team fight. It was a little bit concerning at the beginning when we saw Symphonic go in, and the follow-up was a little bit behind because he died before anyone was really able to engage. But I think that Rakan ult actually taunted a few of them to slow them enough that Diana could join in the fight and get her ults off, and then the follow-up with the CC layering just was unstoppable for the team. Akshan didn't even have to take part.
Yeah, the Victor on top of that, just beautifully played. Symphonic, your sacrifice was not in vain. You slowed down enough members, so Grave News was able to find that Moonfall and make the fight happen. Really nicely done.
Well, we're about to encroach on Infernal Soul for Arcadia. So how they prep this next fight and how looks like GPG is waiting in the wings.
He's menacingly waiting in the bush. He wants to find anyone on a bad rotate, but with all 4 members who are not the full tank Sejuani playing safe and just pushing up the mid lane together, they don't want to let Akshan get any sort of side lane picks. But you can already see him on the flank route right now. He's sitting on this bottom side, totally unspotted, but Argo might be in trouble. Nice step away from that Echo parallel convergence, so he's able to survive the potential engage without burning any important summoners. Doesn't have a flash to burn either, which is actually a really big deal for this Victor. He's got to be very careful when he starts looking for this fight. The vision control and the river control is all in Nemesis' favor right now. Akshan is still holding on this flank path. Hello is down with him. Symphonic wants to find the engage, gets the quickness in, this stolen away! Grave News finds the smite! Akshan gets the revive onto his support and is now putting the damage down onto Stride. He picks him up, and in the meantime, Argo has just been running a train on the rest of the members of Nemesis. Nobody technically died for DZG as the revives came through for GVG. But a beautifully played fight from Arcadia, which means they get the Dragon Soul, and I think they might actually be able to take the game.
Yeah, we might be looking at a game 3 after these spectacular team fights that just have gone in the favor of Arcadia.
Yeah, Arcadia looks like a totally different team in this game, too. It feels like 5 different players sat down to take this game on, and they looked beautiful while doing it. Game 2, in handed fashion. I'm mixing up my acronyms. Game 2 goes to Arcadia. They looked good doing it.
Sounds good. Let's check out their stats.
Yeah, I would hope to see a lot of damage coming out from Akshan specifically, as well as the Victor. And it looks like, yeah, they were the ones pulling out the damage. It's really sad to see only 8,000 total damage coming through for Xayah, but they were playing weak side. And despite Xayah Rakan being an aggressive lane, they played the weak side well.
Yeah, I think they absolutely did, because if they played aggressive in any shape or form, that Leona would have been ready with her ult, and there just wasn't any opportunity. Just look at the 4 assists that Leona's had. She didn't really make an impact on the map compared to the Rakan. That Rakan, I'm not quite sure if they just thought that, Rakan didn't have ults again, but they let the Rakan walk into that dragon pit and basically pick them all. I mean, all of them basically got caught out, and it kind of just looked like a slaughterhouse next to the dragon.
Yeah, I do want to notice that Rakan had Zombie Ward. I wanted to talk about it at some point during the game. I just never got the opportunity. I wonder if he also had Ultimate Hunter, just to make sure that whenever there was an opportunity for the quickness to go out, for him to find and engage, he was able to have it up, because it looked really good.
Yeah, and I guess we're going to have to stay tuned for Game 3, since Arcadia has pulled off an incredible feat with that Game 2.
Yeah, Arcadia won Game 2. They looked good while doing it. We'll have to see if they can keep up this momentum going into Game 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Those hands and lights can't stop me. I just hold on for dear life. Yeah, I can't give up this feeling that I get when looking down from this high. When I'm with you, when I'm with you, I'm with you, that I get when looking down from this high. It's me now. Can't give up this feeling. It's me now. Can't give up this feeling. It's me now. Can't give up this feeling. It's me now. Can't give up. Cause those hands and legs can't stop me. I'll just hold on for dear life. Yeah, I can't give up this feeling that I get when looking down from the sky. When I'm with you, when I'm with you, I can't give up this feeling.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up
can't stay in my feet. What I'm gonna do if I don't want it? But you're my baby, break my mind and take. But you have the key, so open my place, my place. I can't stay in my feet. What I'm gonna do if I really want it? But you're my baby, break my mind, break my mind. So open my place, my mind. So open my mind. So open my place, my mind. But you're my baby.
Welcome back, everybody. After a barn burner of a game 2, we are getting into game 3 of Nemesis versus DZG Arcadia. Arcadia pulling out the win in game 2 to tie up our series and pull us into this game 3, and it looks like our bans are very similar to game 1.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Nemesis, I think they're sticking with their game plan. Maybe that auction might have caused some doubt, so we'll see.
Yeah, they're sticking with the Amumu and the Vel'Koz. The Akshan being up does present some sort of threat, but he does have counters for the laning phase. It's not like he is infallible. The Gangplank is just a very good matchup for him. I appreciate that Arcadia is keeping Yuumi on the bench, so we don't have to see her again.
The question is, will Sivir make it through despite the Yuumi ban?
While Sivir does have other pairings that she can work with fairly well, and it's not bad for her, Yuumi is definitely her strongest pairing and allows her to have the freedom to be the kind of AD carry she wants to be. So without Yuumi, she is a lot weaker. Not unplayable, but just weaker.
And they opted for that Victor ban. That's surprising.
Yeah, the Victor ban, I think, is showing a lot of respect towards Argo, who ran it last game. It looks like Arcadia is going to play it safe. They are going to ban away the Sivir, which means the Seraphine will make it through alongside the Zac that got banned away in game 1. And as we talk about it, there it is. Zac gets locked in, first pick.
Yeah, and we'll definitely see a lot. I mean, Rusty has definitely tried ganks to gank a lot of lanes, and he's been pretty successful with the ganks in the first game. Second game, not so much, but I mean, he still was able to participate in a lot of team fights, which resulted in kills for his team. This Zac is just going to add some range to his ganks. He's going to be able to jump in from a camp and no one's going to know.
Yeah, it seems like the Zac is that similar style of comfort jungler where you have that tanky engaged jungler, someone who can run forward aggressively and just be like, hey, I'm a menacing meatball, you got to deal with me. Zac just has more options for those gank paths, which I appreciate for him. It looks like Arcadia is going to lock in the Volley Bear to take that one not only away from Arca, but potentially throw that in the jungle towards Grave News, or give that one to Argo if they want to have that tank in the top side.
I think it's a great matchup for the if we're gonna see another Xayah. For the Volley, I think it's great to go into jungle just because Zac wants to go in, but once he goes in, if that Volley adds a CC to it, Zac isn't gonna go anywhere. But at the same time, you know, I feel like Zac kind of scales really hard while Volley is strong early, but I wouldn't say fall off late, but he just does not do as much later on.
Yeah, he will definitely lose his damage ability and just sort of be like, hey, I'm Volley Bear, I'm on 2 items, I'm very tanky, and that's all I'm gonna do. We are seeing another switch up in the bottom lane, though. Third AD carry for Nemesis. They're grabbing the Misfortune this time around.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like this ADC is just trying to do his best to showcase all his ADCs, since it doesn't look like he's ever going to be able to play Sivir again.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been upset with the Caitlyn pick again. I think it is a good matchup in Xayah, and we saw them do an impressive amount of bullying in the laning phase. It was very difficult for Xayah Rakan to get off the ground and get into the Caitlyn's face with the Leona behind it, but instead they're going to opt for an entirely different bottom lane, grab the Misfortune and the Morgana as well.
I mean, from my personal experience, MF, especially with you going the lethality build, I feel like you add a lot of damage to your kit, especially with the Morgana. If she lands her snare, I mean, it feels like it never ends.
Yeah, with the bullet time and the make it rain on top of that, with the dark binding, it's a lot of damage that can come through on a CC target, but that damage comes through a lot less if you have the Braum shield standing in front of it, as we are going to break up the pairing of Xayah Rakan and give some Braum instead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just did not want to see the auction because I feel like this would have been a perfect opportunity to throw in the auction and then ban two mids just to make sure that they can't do anything to counter it. But
Yeah, I would expect to see the Akshan get banned away by Nemesis here. If it gets let through, I wouldn't be surprised if Arcadia just grabs a comfortable laner for Argo and just look to see if Akshan is a counter matchup for GVG. Because it seems like he has a very expressive champion pool. We saw the Echo in game one and now the Akshan in game two, both going into different lanes. Similar styles of champion, but still aggressively able to push leads forward, try and make roam plays happen. It just wasn't as successful in game one.
yeah, and especially with an auction, Morgana's shield would not be worth anything.
Yeah, I mean, you can block a little bit of the passive, I guess. Maybe some damage. Not even damage from the ulti, because I'm fairly certain that's physical damage. Yeah, it is just the passive, and there's no crowd control coming out from the Akshan either. It will do a decent job of blocking the Volibear and the Braum crowd control. Even the Xayah Feather pullback won't be able to root, but the Black Shield really seemed to be as a preemptive counter to the Rakan, just to be like, hey, you can't lock that one in for free. You have to be more careful.
Yeah, and I think Shen is a great ban simply because right now the only damage is really MF. I mean, Zac does have damage, but at the same time, he's really so far in the front that if they need another source of damage, he's not going to be it.
Yeah, they really do need to find something in these solo laners to pick up at least one more form of damage, whether it's like a set in the top lane combined with like some sort of scaling mage in the mid lane, of Vex, a Cassidon, something like this. But they need a little bit more damage for their comp, because more Misfortune into Volibear Braum is just not going to cut it.
I mean, for both sides right now, the ADC is the damage, unless we're looking at that top lane volley. Ornn, I think, is a great pick here. Honestly, it's blind bull in most sets, and it means that if they can scale this game, Ornn will be able to upgrade everyone's mythics.
Yeah, especially with the Mordekaiser being banned away, which is one of the Mordekaiser being banned away, Ornn's like worst matchup in the whole game. This is a really comfortable spot for Ornn to be, even if Nemesis locks in like that Gangplank again. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, just the fact that like maybe Arca wants to pick that one up again. Instead, they're gonna grab the Olaf. I do like that into Ornn, but it's nothing like the Mordekaiser. Ornn is gonna have a very comfortable laning phase. He might get pushed in a little bit. He might be like weak side for a short amount of time, but he's Ornn. He's happy just sitting back and scaling up. He doesn't particularly care about his laning phase, and sometimes he can even come from behind and like grab a solo kill because he spellbooks into an Ignite or something similar.
I mean, at the same time, what do you think he's going to be here? Do you think an Echo is going to be picked here just because... I mean, he got that early kill in the first game, so, and then right now his auction's banned. Do you think that we're going to see perhaps the Orianna that did not get banned this time?
Yeah, the Orianna made it through and has a fair bit of synergy with Ornn and Volibear. Again, those good ball delivery systems. I wouldn't hate something like Talia here either as a good counter into the Ahri and into the Zac, just denying their engage. We're going to have to wait and see what DZG says in the client draft, just to confirm what that lock-in is. The lock-in is Aurelion Soul.
Well, that is definitely not a pick we regularly see, especially in solo queue. It is for only ASOL mains, and GVG does happen to be one of the ones that plays ASOL. But I'm kind of questioning the pick because I do not want to see that Olaf running at me, and they have a lot of CC, but not CC that Olaf is immune to with his ult. So with that Ragnarok, I feel like he's just going to try to run down either Xayah or Aurelion Soul.
Yeah, well, to their credit, ASOL and Xayah do have a bunch of meatballs to stand in front of them. Braum, Ornn, and Volibear is not a front line that you can entirely ignore, even as Olaf. They will provide a good amount of peel no matter what sort of situation you're in, because the Ragnarok will last for a while, but not forever. It's not infinite as much as it can be extended. So when that Ragnarok does fall off, if Arcadia can kite that out, it's a big turnaround, and a bunch of meatballs staring at an Olaf who suddenly doesn't have CC immunity. And if he's crowd controlled, he can't lifesteal, he can't auto attack, he can't throw any true damage out. He is just going to die.
Yeah, and Aurelion Sol, I feel like it's gonna be him trying to roam and make a difference in the other lanes. I feel like you want to get top lane ahead more than anything, just because. But at the same time, it is an Ornn into an Olaf, so Ornn will most likely be weak sided, sitting under his turret, and not be able to create that much pressure. But at the same time, bot lane has a Xayah and Braum. They're not really noted for early damage as in this game.
Yeah, especially into a aggressive poke lane like Misfortune Morgana. If a Bind catches one of them out during the gank, it's just essentially the gank over with, because they're going to be standing still for 2.5 seconds, not really allowed to move or play the game. And if Zac is there for the counter gank, that's even potentially a turnaround kill.
Yeah, and I feel like in this case, Nemesis kind of has the ease. Again, they have an easier comp to pull off. I mean, there's nothing scarier than a Morgana landing a Q with her entire team near her into an RE charm and an MF into bullet time. Like, it's just, you just are going to have a bad time. But at the same time, Arcadia surprised us last game with the way that they had a whole bunch of damage and no tanks. This time they're opting for a lot of tanks and 2 carries, so we get to see the reverse option. Hopefully we won't see another Hextech Dragon as the first one, and we'll get to see it in the as the third and fourth Drake, or the remaining Drakes, so we can actually see someone use the Hextech Gates to change this game.
Yeah, Axel, I think already just by existing in this game has changed the landscape of it in general. We are going to throw it to a short break before we head into game 3. No extra sponsors to throw at you this time, but we do have some merchandise. If you want to support DZG directly, you can click on the link down in chat that should be showing up any second now. Buy some shirts, buy some hoodies. Just grab like something for yourself. It helps support us here on stream and in game. Thank you so much for being here and watching the stream in general, and we'll be right back when we load into game 3.
the sins that you can't confess. I'm just your ghost if we're not undressed. A part of me wish that we never met, but you act like we never. Got too wasted in the bathroom of your parents' house. Then you kissed me in the backseat of a taxi ride. And we said things that were cheesy, but we meant them. There were feelings, and now you deny it. You're in love with the idea of me, but you're not in my reality.
We are back for our last game of the night between Nemesis and DZG Arcadia. We've had a very impressive showing from both sides here. Nemesis taking that game one very handily, and then Arcadia swinging back pretty hard with game two. And now Nemesis are looking for an early topside invade. Argo might have to scale the E to get away from the binding. The invade is not going to find a kill, but it will mean a little bit of an awkward level 1 for Argo.
I mean, at least he did not have to burn his flash, but, you know, typically you don't get E on Ornn until level 3, so there will be a little bit painful early lane. Looks like Nemesis is getting that deep vision, which will impact. They'll know where exactly Grave News will be and his ganks later on.
Yeah, getting information on early Volibear ganks is very important for how you have against him and how your lanes are prepared against him, like getting the ward on this Raptor camp. And even in the Tri-Rush, as they put the ward down to spot Argo on this invade, it will give information for when Volibear crosses into his red side camps, and then if he looks for a gank top lane, he should be spotted out.
Yeah, and we should be looking at potentially full clear from both sides. I don't think there's gonna be anything special early since you know we have a Volibear and a Zac.
Yep, we see just both mid laners spinning their cool little balls of fire around, just trying to stand aggressively and push their waves in, and Arca doing Olaf things, pushing axes into Argo's face. Just very standard laning phase that we're seeing from both sides right now.
Yeah, and it looks like they're punishing Hiroshi from standing up too far. It seems like they're a lot more aggressive than when they were facing the Leona and Caitlyn.
Yeah, they sort of have to be aggressive if they want to try and find any kills in this lane, because if they let Hiroshi and Stratty just continue to put down their poke and continue to just stand and throw the make it rain, throw down the dark pool, and just keep letting the comets fly, eventually your health gets so low that you can't find an engage anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Braum release attack where it annoys every ADC when you just put up your wall and you just standing right in front of every minion.
Just trying to deny that little bit of CS before the really important abilities come through that you need to start blocking. DZG with a nice aggressive trade on the Baba Yaga, but good electrocute back means that it's not going to be an uncomfortable trade for the Ahri.
Yeah, and Grave News, you know, he used the plant, so the other side knows exactly where he is right now. So he does not have lane priority mid lane or top.
Yeah, he needs to get out of here. The blind is going to miss on the bottom side, but Grave News, I think, is going to have to lose his flash over this wall. Just not respecting the fact that either of his lanes had any priority, which means that he gets his flash blown.
Yeah, I think honestly he needed to gank a lane instead of try for that scuttle, because Asol is definitely losing lane trades at the moment, and you had your top lane start off with his E, so he's not farming as comfortably as he could have been, but I mean he's still keeping up in farm in the end.
Yeah, I think honestly he could have just sprinted towards the bottom side and tried to grab this early Scuttle Crab, make sure that Zac doesn't have those standard gank paths to get into the bottom lane, force him to come from like over a wall or try and sneak around vision and try and play in unique and different ways that are harder to execute on. But he is just going to farm his topside camps instead, maybe looking for his bottom lane to pick up the Scuttle Crab, but right now it looks like both junglers are just ignoring the bottom side and looking to play around this top lane. Argo is going to get Elastic Slingshotted on, pulled back, and the Stretching Strike's doing plenty of work. The Ghost comes through from Arca, but Argo has the Flash, so he's going to be able to survive. But that is a important Summoner blown from this early Ornn.
Well, I mean, it's also an important Summoner used for the Olaf with his Ghost, because he had no opportunity to kill that and he was already on a turret. He'd flashed. Honestly, I think he made a mistake by using that ghost.
Yeah, maybe just looking a little bit too greedily, thinking like, okay, if I pop my ghost now, we can start running him down under tower, but Rusty making the call being like, nah, we got his flash, that's good enough, just try and walk away. Brave News was eventually able to pick up that bottom side scuttle. It is not first Hextech Dragon this time. This time it is first Ocean Dragon, so we won't be seeing any Ocean Souls today, but potentially we'll get to see a Hextech Soul.
I honestly really do love this Hextech Soul because it adds so much dynamics to the game, especially because the setting up of the Dragon Pit just becomes so much more difficult because at first you're like, okay, everyone needs to back at 40 seconds, to give enough time, but now people can get there in under 10 seconds.
Yeah, not only with the Hex States to get into the Dragon Pit quickly enough, but also to use them as potential flank routes. As you Hex Gate over over the pit to the other side of the map, you can look to find yourself a flank path. It is seen by the opponents. They do have full vision of you taking the gate, but even just being seen enough is can be a lot of pressure for the enemy team.
Yeah, and we're looking at Asol. I mean, if he pops off on this, I feel like it's just a sign that Asol is definitely still a strong champ, which I mean everyone else doesn't, but the mains definitely love themselves Asol.
Yeah, if Acel can win this competitive match right here, we know he doesn't need to be reworked, right? You can just scrap the whole thing, leave him as is, make the mains happy. In all seriousness, the video for the Acel, for the potential Acel rework did come out recently. It looks interesting. They're making some changes to him. Looks like they're going to change his playstyle up entirely. Mains, you should be worried. Remember what happened to Aatrox. But the reworks in the past have also been good if we're looking at Warwick and Scion and other champions that are similar. Riot has a good track record with reworks. We should be hopeful, at the very least.
Yeah, Grave News finding this ward up top. I feel like this pace of the game has been a lot slower than the other games so far.
Yeah, neither team really wanted to take the hyper-aggressive early action. The confidence being taken away from Nemesis with the... Now, it's going to sound a little biased when I say it, but the spanking that they got in Game 2 by Arcadia, it takes the wind out of your sails a little bit when you're in a competitive game like this and you have a loss that happens that quickly. After being so aggressive in Game 1 and winning so handily in Game 1, you start to second-guess yourself. You start to think oh, man, was that first game a fluke? Are we, really good enough to beat them? Do we have to, are we playing at, 110% if we want to find a win? It can be really taxing on your mental ability to play the game and can make you play a lot safer than you normally would. You hear it talked about in pro play very often with things like how people play in scrims versus how people play on stage. Just the fact that the nerves make such a big difference when you're playing in a series like this, where you're getting to that Game 3, and it's now just a best of one. Any mistake that happens could mean the end of the series, and your whole team loses.
That was a great flash by Asol, but I feel like he just made a mistake by trying to stay in his lane, just because he just does not have the mana to sustain his abilities. It's obvious that they have the advantage. Hopefully Arcadia is ready to trade.
Yeah, it looks like they are just gonna... Given that they know that this dragon is being taken down, Hiroshi walked over the board, it's on full vision. They'll know the Ocean Dragon is being taken early, which is not a huge loss for Arcadia, as the aggression is coming in onto GVG, the flash forward from Baba Yaga, but Argo is here, and so is Symphonic. The knockup is coming through. They're looking to get aggressive onto Baba Yaga, but Rusty is here to defend his mid lane. The stun is not going to come through from the concussive blows from Symphonic, and it looks like Brave News, instead of trying to defend his mid laners, just says, hey, you're probably going to live, I'm just taking the rift here.
I mean, I don't think with him being so far behind, if he could have done anything to really help that situation, so I think that was the right call. Unfortunately, right now we're watching Nemesis bot lane bully this Xayah while she's under turret.
Yeah, this is what happens when your support roams. Hello, not even level 6 yet, should have it on this wave at some point soon. But Stratty has the level 6 advantage, so Hello has to sort of just sit back and be like, hey, I'm going to give up some of this wave, miss a couple of these minions, but with Symphonic rotating back, they should be able to pick up the most of these.
Yeah, I was honestly expecting top lane to already have one death, but it looks like we're opting for a slow game on top lane where two tanks kind of just beat each other. We did see the Bramble coming in from Ornn, so he knows about Olaf's healing. Whether or not that's the best idea, I think the Ward Mill you mentioned earlier works as well.
Yeah, Argo looking to get aggressive. He knows he has his jungler up here, and knows Grave News is not on Vision, going to force the Ragnarok out of Arca. Argo doesn't have the Call of the Forge Call, but the Ghost is burned as well. That's two really important cooldowns taken away from Arca. Roshi finds the binding on his Symphonic. The Ignite is coming down, but with the Unbreakable up, it just means that there's going to be no kill found there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if I want to stay here any longer if I was them, but I trusted them.
Yeah, Symphonic is going to be spotted putting down that wards. The binding will not find him, but just you can see the power that this poke lane has between Morgana and Misfortune. Just so much extra damage coming through on these short-range champions. Saya, not the longest-ranged AD carry in the league, and Braum being a melee support. Just you can see like how much pressure they're getting on the tower shots, and the fact that they're being forced to play weak side just means that 4 plates are going down in favor of Nemesis.
Yeah, I don't think this is a game where, I mean, bot lane really wants to lose all these turrets so early in the game.
Yep, Argo just using the Bellows Breath to get a slightly more favorable trade into Arca, but Olaf has the life stealing on the passive, so once that anti-heal runs off, he'll be just fine to heal up on the waves. But we're seeing the Aesol even in lane struggle a little bit. We've got an engage on the bottom side. Rusty maybe wanting to find something, but still no first blood as we crest the 11.5-minute mark. But still, 1,000 gold lead going in favor of Nemesis just off of those plates. Nice sidestep by GVG to deny the engage from Baba Yaga. Holding on to the Ignite, not wanting to overforce. I think there was potential for a lethal to be found there with the Electrocute, but just not fully trusting in his damage just yet.
Yeah, which lane do you think is going to end up giving that first blood at this rate?
I feel like it has to be bottom lane. From either side, because it's either going to be Symphonic and Hello get poked out, a random binding catches, similar to this. The Make It Rain is going to put some damage in. Grave Muse is going to sidestep the Elastic Slingshot, though. A nice stun onto Rusty. There's the Glacial Fissure. Grave Muse forced to flash out to the side to dodge a lot of the damage from that bullet time. But yeah, this is the power of this poke lane. This tower is just going to go down. There is no Rift Herald being pushed in here. It's just part of this wave being taken and gone. Grave News is down to level. He has the Stormbreaker available to him, but the crowd control I think is just going to be too much. Gets himself over the wall just in time. But yeah, you can see even the CS difference bottom lane. 40 CS lead for Stratty right now.
Yeah, and we're seeing this Aesol somehow manage to keep up in CS with this Ahri, despite having his mana cost be ridiculously high compared to everything. Oh,
Steve finding his way in. GVG gonna get pulled back by the stretching strikes. A nice charm follow-up from Baba Yaga, and there's our first blood. 13 minutes into the game, Ahri picks it up.
I mean, it's definitely different from the last 2 games where GVG was the one who picked up the first blood, or at least a kill early in the game, and this time it's him giving it up. So
yeah, Rusty just flashed over that wall out of the Raptor pit. They are going to go aggressive here, make sure that this Rift Herald doesn't get a charge in. And this is really important for Nemesis because they traded the Dragon for this Rift Herald. The Herald not getting a charge means that that's a winning play now for them on the other side of the map. It's a delayed winning play, but it is a winning play.
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's no lane he really had an opportunity to drop it with because bot lane was shoved in, top lane is shoved in, mid lane has no mana to shove anywhere. So I feel like it's unfortunate that they just couldn't utilize it better. I mean, even if you have to go into their jungle and release it right next to the turret and the laner doesn't get the gold, it's better that someone got the gold rather than, you know, just that release of the Herald. I feel like that was just not what you wanted to see from Arcadia.
Yeah, and you could even see when the gold graph was up there, just the staggering gold differences for this point in the game. 1,000 between mid lane and bot lane, both of them individually ahead of their lane opponents. About 1,500 now for Stratty over Hello, and about 100 leading the top lane. The Ornn is getting the farm lead despite the gold being in favor of the Olaf, which I think just means a couple of plates and maybe a few key missed cannon minions. but it's a positive winning game for Nemesis right now, even if it is slow. I wouldn't exactly call them like the hyper scaling advantage, but if they're just going to be able to slowly win the game over time, I think they're comfortable doing it. We're gonna have to put that on pause as Argo hits the Call of the Forge God. Brave Muse has to be careful, but is gonna find the last hit there and make sure that Olaf does go down. That was a little dangerous. I thought he might have actually been able to be taken down there.
Yeah, and with Nemesis getting this Drake, we will see another trade from both objectives. So we'll get to see what the remaining Drakes will be.
Yep, we'll see once this Mountain Dragon is taken down. It is another Infernal Soul. We're getting the same one as last game, it appears. And that was the game that led Arcadia to a win. So if they can start stacking these Infernal Dragons, they can definitely put themselves in a more comfortable spot. But if we're looking at history, we saw how they played in Game 1, and playing from behind is not their strength.
Yeah, but at the same time, we do have an Ornn who is about 3 levels off from starting to level other people's items, so that can make quite a difference in team fights later on.
Yeah, just the fact that you have Ornn for that secured scaling is such a good late game champion. It can really turn Xayah from like a late game danger into a late game nuclear bomb, a late game like massive threat.
And Baba Yaga does not know he's sitting on a ward.
Yep, this is good vision control from DZG, just making sure that the flank paths are not there. They're not playing hyper aggressively. They're looking to just collect what farm they can. The gold lead, the CS lead in bottom lane is not changing at all. It looks like it's about 50 now. It's still like a tragic lead to give up if you are DZG. Hello, but with the lack of help you've been getting in this early and mid game, you don't exactly have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, he also went call, so I mean, he's 26 gold CS off of finishing it. So I mean, he already knew what he was in for at the beginning of this.
Yeah, it does worry me when you play with a lane like Xayah in the weak side. It's a bit of extra damage on his Symphonic. The bullet time is not going to be thrown out, even with the Unbreakable falling off. Potentially looking for some sort of engage with Grave Muse nearby, but not going to be able to find any opportunities. Morgana, Misfortune, again, very safe lane, very difficult to actually find the all-in on.
Yeah, and I think this MF is just going to get more dangerous once she finishes that third item of Sherelda's Grudge. I think it's going to be hard for anyone to take the beating that her
Baba Yaga wants to find the all-in. Symphonic, a nice flash away. The heal comes through. There's the Thunderstorm to get away from the bullet time. Arca wants to find the all-in, but Hello does have his flash and heal and finds his way out. And it's somehow, nobody dies there. Rusty wants to make sure that gets changed. Call of the Forge God is coming in. Stratty finds the double up to get the hit onto GDG. Argo's going to get his knockup denied by Rusty. And the team fight is going all in favor of Nemesis right now. Argo the next to fall. Grave News and Hello just forced to run away on very low HP. Grave News drops the Sky Splitter, but that wave is still going strong. This is definitely a tower at least going down, if not two.
Yeah, and I think there was a missed opportunity there. Whether or not it would have turned out better or not, when MF released her bullet time ult, there was an opportunity for Volley to actually, against all common sense, ult towards the MF and actually stun her to stop her ult, instead of collectively taking more damage from it by trying to ult out.
Yeah, I don't remember whether the Black Shield had been used at that point. I'm going to assume that it had, just because it's a fairly good engage tool, and if you're looking to have your Ahri like safely get in, get out, the Black Shield was probably on her. So if Grave News was able to get the stun on Misfortune, there was a definite potential for a turnaround there. If Misfortune gets stunned up, she doesn't have a lot of heal outside of that Black Shield. Something becomes very difficult for Nemesis to find the fight. Hello is going to get stunned up a little bit. The second Rift Herald was taken by DZG Arcadia. Oh, that Morgana binding is really nice. Strat is just going to get so much damage onto GVG. He's going to be forced to try and walk away, but Baba Yaga with the flash over the wall finds his first target. Dashes in for the second one. It's a double kill for Arca. He's got the Ragnarok on, and he is running free. Symphonic going to be the next to fall. A triple kill for the Olaf. And the respawn timers are a bit short, but that's an inhib down for sure.
Yeah, I think with the way that Arcadia has all the beefcakes, when their carries are down, there is unfortunately nothing that those beefcakes can do to stop the rest of the team, just because that Morgana Q and everything is just too abrasive.
Yeah, with the what I'm gonna call a lack of ninja tabbies from some certain characters on Arcadia right now. It just means when the binding does land, it does so much. Thankfully now Symphonic and Grave News have them. They've got their extra tenacity, so they should be fine. But priority target like GVG can't really afford to build them, really needs the magic pen from the boots. So if he gets caught by a binding, he is just really going to die.
Yeah, and it's starting to look unfavorable, but I mean, we're looking at a death push, so we'll see if this is exactly if they'll sit there and just let the other team scale. Oh,
Brave News potentially going to get caught. There's the binding. Rusty overshoots it a little bit, but that is Arcadia's jungler down. And even with Vision in the pit, I think almost for sure that is Baron going to Nemesis.
yeah, if anything, they should try to trade and just get this Drake, but it looks like they're not even able to do that.
I mean, the Baron's taking it slowly. They definitely could at some point rotate down, but they're just going to have Hello pick up the wave in mid lane, try and make sure that there isn't a wave for them to push. GVG doing the same thing on the bottom side, so they don't feel confident enough to start Dragon as it is with that durability change. Much harder to take, and if you overstay trying to secure that Dragon, you can end up just gifting it over to the enemy team.
Yeah, this is at the moment starting to look just like game one. Unfortunately, it's overwhelmingly in favor of Nemesis at the moment, and we're hoping that Arcadia has a response. I mean, Ornn is almost about to upgrade other people's items. Unfortunately, they are down levels in jungle and bot lane, so that is a sufficient amount of experience that Nemesis is ahead in.
Yeah, it's a really difficult position to be in. Like you can't see the gold lead as we can while we're in the spectator client. You don't know that you are 8,000 gold behind, but when you're in a game situation like this, you can feel that you are very far behind. You don't know exactly how much, but you can tell that it is not a great position to be in. And it's tough to find a comeback from a position like this. Symphonic going to catch a binding, but they don't exactly want to blow all of their cooldowns and engage on the support, so they're just going to keep sieging down this bottom lane outer tower. Symphonic now maybe the target of the engage. Rusty finds the pullback from the elastic strikes. Baba Yaga wants to find the charm with the Spirit Rush, but doesn't find GVG. And now the siege begins. Brave News is going to get caught by the binding again, but no real extra damage to come through. GVG just trying to defend this as much as he can, get onto this super cannon, this Baron buff-powered cannon, but no such engage coming from either side. Just the poke coming through from this Misfortune of Morgana is so strong. It's so difficult to try and hold some sort of siege defense against this.
Yeah, the poke from the spot lane is just so punishing, and if you catch any snare, you just can count on MF to press E right immediately after.
Yeah, any loose binding catches, even on a tank, they're losing half their health. Argo doesn't want to let the siege happen any longer. He's gonna miss the call to Forge God, but the engage is still trying to happen. Rusty trying to get in with the less bounce. Hiroshi is on the backline with a nice shackles. Argo's in the backline of Nemesis, but there is no follow-up. The bind is gonna catch GVG. Arca goes unstoppable, and it is just cleanup from here. Hello is going to burn the Featherstorm to try and clear out some minions, but just doesn't have the damage or the items in inventory. And with the Baron buff in pocket, you have to assume that that's the end of the game.
Yep, quite unfortunate that Arcadia did not get a chance to scale. So with so many tools, especially mid and with the Ornn, but it was a best of three. And they went to the full 3 games, so Arcadia did their best.
Yeah, that's one of those devastating losses, because they did look so good in that game too. They really had the potential to take this series all the way. They delivered a crushing defeat, and especially coming off of the back of a really bad loss in Game 1. That Game 2 was especially impressive, but just Game 3 looked a little bit too much like Game 2 as opposed to Game 1, or looked a little bit too much like Game 1 as opposed to Game 2.
Yeah, it is something to be said about the mental fortitude that they did to take back Game 2. Unfortunately, Game 3 kind of did go the same way, but at the same time, this is a learning experience. It's only week 2, so there's still an opportunity for DZG Arcadia to turn this around for the rest of the season.
Yep, they still have a full season ahead of them, a full season to scale up and get to that playoffs form, look to get into that full team synergy, look to make themselves the best team possible. But I think as for us here on the desk, I think that's going to be it for us. I appreciate you all being here to watch the cast, and I especially appreciate MetaShift for having us stream this game, as well as my fellow co-caster Silent Elements. Thank you for being here.
It's always a pleasure.
And we can't forget to thank Alyssa behind the scenes for making sure that the production goes smoothly as it can possibly go. Thank you very much. We will be tuning off now, so catch us next time. If you want to join the Discord for any updates on when the streams do happen, the link is, I believe, in chat as soon as it possibly can. If not in chat, find the Discord. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
It's the calm before the storm. Things aren't as they were